Part 98. I'm Really Immortal. Author, Chulian Kuikan Rusiahua. Chapter 998. The first time Zhu Huntang met Lu Chang'an, this bad old man made Zhu Huntang jump off the building. Of course Zhu Huntang couldn't jump, so he used his superb language skills to launch a mental attack on him, which made him jump instead. This is Zhu Huntang's best result against Lu Chang'an so far. She also knew that ordinary physical damage was completely ineffective against Lu Chang'an. Let alone whipping him with a bicycle chain, even whipping him with the mythical whip might not be of any use. But Zhu Huntang can attack mentally, and it is very effective. It often makes Lu Chang'an furious, as if he wants to find a hard enough place to hit him or Zhu Huntang to death. Today, Zhu Huntang wanted to whip him with a bicycle chain, mainly to make the accompanying mental attack effective. When he found out that it was the weapon he wanted to use to whip her, but in turn, Zhu Huntang used it against him, he must have been very humiliated and suffered greatly. Blow. After Lu Chang'an picked tender mulberry leaves for Zhou Dongdong, he returned to the sycamore tree, with his back to Zhu Huntang. He was still looking at the distance with the eyes of a stupid little animal, and put a small piece of mulberry leaf on his forehead and cheek. And Zhou Dongdong on the neck. Take this opportunity. Surprise attack. What the hell? Zhu Huntang shouted slogans, and then screamed. The bent and twisted bicycle chain turned in the palm of her hand, and the chain hit her head. Lu Chang'an turned around and saw the bicycle chain in Zhu Huntang's hand falling to the ground, standing there blankly, looking extremely uncomfortable. Can Zhu Huntang not feel uncomfortable? It was really painful when the chain hit my body, it was burning, it was more painful than when my butt was swollen when Lu Chang'an spanked me before. She wanted to cry, but she did it by herself. She felt stupid and embarrassed for making herself cry. Zhu Huntang didn't want to cry. But don't cry, I feel aggrieved, and the feeling of holding back tears and howling is even more painful. Ha ha ha. Lu Chang'an laughed regardless of her pitiful look of grievance and discomfort. Ever since Zhu Huntang stole the bicycle chain, Lu Chang'an had expected that the scene would happen. She was looking forward to it, and she did not disappoint. In fact, the bicycle chain is relatively thin, because the structure of the chain can easily cause the force transmission to be different from that of ordinary sticks and other objects. If it is not held firmly, it will be difficult to control it like an arm. You must know that when Professor Lu brought this thing to Linen, he first wrapped it in white cloth and held it in his hand to prevent it from being slippery, and then he aggressively wanted to whip Lu Chang'an and An Nuan. It can be seen that Professor Lu is very experienced in using bicycle chains. How did Zhu Huntang know? Zhu Huntang was in pain and angry. After stamping his feet, he sat on the stool with his head in his hands. He must have known this would happen. She threw it hard, and the bicycle chain almost swung back. She quickly shrank her hand, still fearful. This thing that the old man made was definitely not something that Maya could control. I didn't make any money today. At this time, Shangguan Dandan came back with a thick stack of leaflets in a plastic bag, but she basically didn't send them out. However, as a wise, powerful, and unyielding queen mother, Shangguan Dandan planned to give out the money tomorrow and get the money after the money was finished. Seeing Zhu Huntang's tearful look, Shangguan Dandan frowned and scolded him very solemnly, "Who is so brave and dares to bully my princess?" Zhu Huntang sniffed and pointed at Lu Chang'an, then pointed at the bicycle chain thrown on the ground. Even though it was Zhu Huntang who smoked it himself, was it not because of him? It can even be said that although she did it, the culprit was Lu Chang'an. He hit you with this? I'll help you get revenge. Shangguan Dandan picked up the bicycle chain and waved it. First, scare him, let him know that although Dandan has little strength, the mother's slapping the moth will have a bonus effect, and it will not be good if it makes him scream. Give him some time to escape. Just like Zhou Shuling beating Zhou Dongdong, she would often put on a big posture, and then allow Zhou Dongdong to take the opportunity to escape. Shang Guandandan naturally feels sorry for Zhu Huntang, but Lu Chang'an is also his beloved moth, and the palms and backs of his hands are full of flesh. Ah, I been slapped. Shang Guandandan was slightly appreciating her shrewd response to housework. The bicycle chain swung back again and hit her on the head. She happened to have already put on the sheep doll. The hood was taken off. Ha ha ha. Even Lu Chang'an's body was a little unbearable and he felt a little pain in his stomach. Who allowed them to both be drawn to the same position? She wanted to cry, but she did it by herself. She felt stupid and embarrassed for making herself cry. Shang Guandandan didn't want to cry. But don't cry, it's very aggrieved, especially when Lu Chang'an is laughing next to him. Zhu Huntang was crying originally, and now he also wants to laugh, but he holds back his laughter. Shang Guandandan sees it and silently throw away the bicycle chain, hold the thermos bottle and fall on the recliner without saying a word. Have you ever watched the TV show The Whip? At this time Zhou Dongdong came over and picked up the bicycle chain on the ground. This thing looked very fun. After laughter, there is sadness and sorrow, which is the normal state of life. Lu Chang'an thought of the three relatives and friends downstairs who would definitely be Lu Changchun's relatives and friends in the future, and who might actively participate in Lu Changchun's growth, and he fell into a mood full of sadness after laughing. Coming upstairs, Nuan is busy in the kitchen. The girl is tall and wearing an apron. She looks perfect in the eyes of men. The old kitchen, shiny new kitchen utensils, dripping vegetables, and the environment full of fireworks. It is dotted with dreamlike scenes. Lu Chang'an walked up behind her, put his arms around her slender waist, put his fingers in and put a knuckle on the edge of her jeans. Why are you up here? Nuan heard Lu Chang'an's laughter upstairs and turned around to kiss him. She felt like a newlywed, but it was different from cooking with him at home. Have you seen the vending machine downstairs? I saw it. I was wondering why the vending machine was placed here, and the most expensive chocolate actually costs thousands of dollars. How can anyone do this kind of business? And Nuan just took a look and felt strange. Didn't pay much attention to it. After all, she has seen a lot. There are everyone in this world, even Superman, such as the boyfriend behind her. That's Shang Guandandan's vending machine. Lu Chang'an reminded, you can take my phone later and pick out the most expensive chocolates and buy a few boxes. You can eat them yourself or give them to others. Why? And Nuan was a little confused. Just do it. Then I'll buy it with my own mobile phone. I saved a lot of lucky money during the Chinese New Year, so I don't need yours. I'm the boss. Are you competing with me? Lu Chang'an stretched out his hand to touch Nuan's belly button. Are you obedient? Itchy, okay, I'll listen to you. Nuan chuckled and explained, but if she uses your account to pay, she won't feel like she's making money, right? Nuan somewhat understood that her boyfriend was helping her to please her future mother-in-law and paying tribute. It doesn't matter. She even uses her own money to pay for the purchase. She will feel that she has made money. Over time, the business will grow bigger and bigger. That's fun. Lu Chang'an nodded. People who were not familiar with her would think Shang Guandandan was funny. Only those who knew her well knew that she was an extraordinary creature full of dangers. She regarded human life as nothing, had no idea of obeying the law, and did not agree with society. The core values of socialism are very reactionary. After you finish the purchase, you propose that you will beat Hu away, show her your cash or the balance in WeChat and Alipay, and give her a little bit. You fight with Shang Guandandan and Zhu Huntang. Pay attention to Zhu Huntang, don't let her cheat, otherwise it will be difficult for you to lose. Lu Chang'an reminded carefully. Why is it so difficult for me to lose when she cheats? And Nuan was a little confused. Shouldn't it be more difficult to win? Go. Lu Chang'an kissed Nuan. As for Zhu Huntang, he didn't want to explain. It was embarrassing. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 999. En Nuan came downstairs and saw Zhou Dongdong wearing a hood of a sheep doll suit, with her hands tucked into the sleeves of her clothes, holding the bicycle chain and waving it in circles, giving the impression that she was a gyro is being whipped crazy by the bicycle chain. En Nuan couldn't help but stay away from her. If the bicycle chain was accidentally thrown off someone's body, it would be extremely painful. Obviously before Lu Chang'an went upstairs, En Nuan heard Zhou Dongdong howl a few times downstairs, but he didn't expect to have such fun again. Zhu Huntang was hugging a beautiful girl and whispering. He vaguely heard Lu Chang'an's name. It seemed that Zhu Huntang was making plans to attack Lu Chang'an again. No, En Nuan felt that to be precise, she was planning how to commit suicide. Good. It seems that many rich and powerful people are trolling in private, which seems to be based on reality. But that's not important. Zhu Huntang can't become En Nuan's love rival anyway, so let her go. What En Nuan is paying most attention to now is that beautiful girl. There is no doubt that she is Shang Guandandan. Lu Chang'an's mother has returned to her old age. Just like what Professor Lu has experienced, her temperament will become childish. The clear eyes of the girl in front of her, there is still a childlike feeling on her delicate and petite face. En Nuan smiled and said hello briefly, then took out her cell phone and looked at the vending machine. Seeing En Nuan's action, Shang Guandandan quickly pressed Zhu Huntang's face and sat up, staring attentively. When An Yuan scanned the QR code to pay and the vending machine started shipping, Shang Guandandan took out his mobile phone and looked at the collection account happily. Dandan made money again, and his business grew bigger and bigger. With this automatic, sooner or later, a vending machine can become a big businessman like Fan Li. Dongdong, do you want some chocolate? En Nuan first greeted Zhou Dongdong, who was playing hard and looking like a crazy person. Eat. Zhou Dongdong quickly turned around a few times to cushion himself, dropped the bicycle chain in his hand, came to En Nuan and stood with his hands close to his trouser legs, like a little People's Liberation Army soldier preparing to receive a gun. En Nuan opened a box of chocolates and handed them to Zhou Dongdong. Hi, Dandan, I'm En Nuan, Lu Chang'an's girlfriend. En Nuan greeted Shang Guandandan shyly. After all, he was planning to marry Lu Chang'an, so he was a little shy about taking his son as his own. I just heard that Zhu Huntang called Shang Guandandan Dandan, which means that everyone has a tacit understanding not to reveal Shang Guandandan's true seniority during the conversation, otherwise others will hear them calling a girl who looks like a teenager. It must be weird to have a child's aunt or godmother. Of course, En Nuan must abide by this tacit understanding, otherwise he will be ostracized by everyone and unable to truly integrate into the circle of friends. You are very good, you are a sensible child. Shang Guandandan nodded appreciatively. The girl in front of him looked just like Xiao Tang, with a smart and clever spirit. From the moment En Nuan took Lu Chang'an's mobile phone to buy something from the vending machine, she knew that she had been prompted by Lu Chang'an to be filial and please her mother-in-law. At the same time, this is Lu Chang'an's plea: Mother, I am filial to you, please stop saying a few words and stop causing trouble. The only one who can make Lu Chang'an worry so much is En Nuan. Xiao Nazai is really pampered. No other daughter-in-law has such treatment. What's more, Shang Guandandan could feel that En Nuan's whole person, front and back, top and bottom, was filled with the smell of dragon, second only to that evil woman. Alas, An Hui has to keep up her efforts. Compared with En Nuan, An Hui's breath is too pure, nothing, like a waste. She had to help Xia Hui in a timely manner. Shang Guandandan knew that being a good person should be important. She couldn't just treat Hui with extra kindness and comfort and forget about her old friend just because Hui's filial piety had fallen into the bag. I want to come here to play more often in the future. Shang Guandandan patted the back of En Nuan's hand and said with some annoyance. Definitely, It's just that Lu Chang'an often comes to play with me, and he has no intention of bringing me to play, and Nuan explained the reason. At this time, he must use his boyfriend to take the blame, and I guess he won't mind. You don't need him to take care of you. You can do it yourself from now on. Okay, although the other person looks young, his words and expressions make him clearly an elder. With the example of Professor Lu and the testimony of Zhu Huntang calling her godmother, and Nuan consciously adapted to acting like a junior in front of Shang Guandandan, and her tone was slightly coquettish. No, I can't swallow this breath. I'm going to whip him. Zhu Huntang suddenly stood up and was about to walk upstairs. And Nuan quickly grabbed Zhu Huntang, not because she was afraid that she would cause trouble in the kitchen and delay dinner, but because Nuan really couldn't bear her to destroy herself. If you commit suicide, there will be no chance that you will not be able to swallow your breath and become completely breathless. Don't go, let's play cards. Miss, are you going to beat off the beard? And Nuan said, it will take a while to eat, let's play cards with Duntun. Zhou Dongdong hurriedly went to the bottom of the stairs to push the small table over. This was something she had picked up before. She coaxed him to repair the small table on the grounds that she could read and study with her brother Chang'an. Of course, reading and studying together never happened again. Seeing that Zhou Dongdong had moved the table, Zhu Huntang had no choice but to temporarily give up the urge to deal with Lu Chang'an and show off his skills at the card table first. Of course I can fight, and I'm basically a master now, Zhu Huntang said with confidence. If it was a landlord that did not allow cheating and changing the rules, she would still feel guilty. After all, she was kidnapped by Lu Chang'an and his bitch Qinyanan. Becoming a mummy has left a psychological shadow. Beating away the beard is much easier. It is basically the tile version of mahjong, which is my strength. Using my quick hands and quick eyes to steal cards and replace them, I can completely achieve the effect of the gambling sage, the gambling god, the gambling king and the tyrant in the movie. We are all a family, so there is no point counting. You can cheat with 15 points, double it with 30 points, double the black cards and 13 red cards, and the bottom is 10 yuan. Although Shang Guandandan was a poor queen mother, they can't be stingy in front of the juniors. As long as they win money based on their ability, the queen mother can still afford to play cards worth up to 20 yuan. Okay, let's change the game, and Nuan nodded. What does it mean to switch sides? Zhu Huntang asked with a frown. Shang Guandandan was secretly wary of Nuan. There was no doubt that Nuan was better at playing than Xiao Tang. Shang Guandandan decided to protect her and not let her lose too much to Nuan. After all, the unmarried daughter-in-law definitely does not have a goddaughter and granddaughter. If none of the three of them have any tricks, they will change to the banker. They can draw an extra card and be the first to play, Nuan explained. Oh, that's it? I've never lost a game before. Basically, I win just by playing. Zhu Huntang didn't take it seriously. She practiced running away the beard with the bread man. They were all in a group. The idiots were completely suppressed by Zhu Huntang's card skills. They were convinced that they lost every time and all declared that Zhu Huntang was the god of running beards. The four of them sat down around a small table. Zhou Dongdong did not participate, but lay on the side eating chocolate. This kind of chocolate seemed to be the kind that started with a 3. It was not as expensive as the kind that started with a 5, but it was particularly delicious. Shang Guandandan first put the payment code he printed on the table. And Nuan was stunned when he saw it. This must be very professional. The first hand of cards started. As soon as everyone finished playing cards, Zhu Huntang pointed to the sky and said, "Look, a flying saucer." And Nuan couldn't help but turn her head. Where is it? When you think about it right away, isn't this the lowest level distraction method in movies and TV shows? There are really people who use it in real life. And Nuan turned around and saw that Zhu Huntang obviously had several more cards. Shang Guandandan sat there looking at her own cards, turning a blind eye to Zhu Huntang's behavior. and Nuan looked at Zhu Huntang, and Zhu Huntang also glanced at Nuan, with a puzzled expression on his face. "You're playing your cards." And Nuan had no choice but to play her cards. She finally understood what Lu Chang'an meant when he said that once Zhu Huntang cheated, it would be difficult for Nuan to lose. Running beard is not like landlord. If you want Hu tiles to be the same as Mahjong, they must form a fixed card type. The banker starts with 21 cards and the player starts with 20 cards. One more or one less card cannot form a Hu tile. You can't mess with the type of cards at all. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1000. And Nuan has always admired Lu Chang'an's psychological quality. He always only pays attention to what he wants when doing things, and doesn't care about other people's strange eyes, let alone the sarcasm in other people's words. This may be a kind of extraordinary state. After all, he is a superhuman strong man. But Zhu Huntang, why should she? Just when Nuan was thinking about this problem, Zhu Huntang once again stole a card in full view of everyone. When Nuan stared at her closely, Zhu Huntang actually showed a confused expression of "What are you looking at me for?" She tilted her head, like an ignorant and naive child. She couldn't understand Nuan's eyes at all, and she had no idea what was wrong with her. Nuan looked at the cards. He was getting more and more neat, and he might lose his cards at any time. This is what Lu Chang'an said: "It's hard to lose even if you want to." How about Shang Guandandan's cards? Nuan didn't know because she didn't look at other people's cards as blatantly as Zhu Huntang, but Shang Guandandan was obviously an experienced card player. She looked calm and touched the thermos pot from time to time. She tilted her head to the left and tilted her head to the right. He turned a blind eye to any of Zhu Huntang's actions. Nuan felt that the fight could not continue like this, so she pointed to the stairs and said, "Lu Chang'an." While Zhu Huntang suspected that Nuan was deceiving her, he looked towards the stairs. If Lu Chang'an came downstairs, he would spit on him. Nuan took the opportunity to grab 2 cards from Zhu Huntang and put them in his hand, successfully destroying his own cards. "Are you taking my card?" Zhu Huntang looked at Nuan in disbelief. "No," Nuan denied. "You stole it? Do you think I'm blind?" Zhu Huntang looked at Nuan with admiration. "No, if you don't believe me, let's count your cards and see if there are any missing." Zhu Huntang quickly held down his cards. "Can you count them?" "Forget it, don't argue with a rookie like Nuan who only knows how to cheat." Nuan's cards were also mismatched, and Shang Guandandan won in the end. Even though he is the god of running beard among breadmen, it is not surprising that he lost to Shang Guandandan. Zhu Huntang still started the second game of cards with confidence. After playing a few games, Shang Guandandan was the winner. Zhu Huntang finally realized that it was not his own poker skills that were at fault. This Nuan just wanted to lose to Shang Guandandan. He was really cunning, and even let Zhu Huntang accompany him. Lose together. So Zhu Huntang asked to fight the landlords. As long as everyone abides by Zhu Huntang's rules of playing cards, she will basically be invincible and be like the king of the landlords. After finally teaching Shang Guandandan how to play landlords, Zhu Huntang discovered that Nuan did not abide by Zhu Huntang's rules for playing cards. For example, Zhu Huntang was not allowed to temporarily add a one-time 2 with 2, 3579J is also a straight, and other rules. Angry Zhu Huntang handed his cards to Zhou Dongdong to play on his behalf, and then went upstairs to vent to Lu Chang'an. In the name of practicing martial arts, after suppressing Lu Chang'an from resisting, Zhu Huntang could slap Lu Chang'an on the back and beat him randomly. "Damn old man, I don't like playing with Nuan," Zhu Huntang reported angrily. Lu Chang'an glanced at her. "Anyone can blow the wind, the wind blows on the pillow, and it is fragrant, warm, and soft. Zhu Huntang is also blowing the wind now. She is blowing the wind that comes from the holes in the black-hearted cotton-padded jacket. You only like to play with those who can't defeat you by cheating, who are not as shameless as you, who are too embarrassed to fight with you, or who just let you go. Lu Chang'an can understand. Who said that? I like playing with you. Zhu Huntang stood behind Lu Chang'an and tapped his back with his forehead. And Nuan wants to please Shang Guandandan now. You don't know why, right? Lu Chang'an reconciled helplessly. She will let you do it in the future. Zhu Huntang raised his head suspiciously. Really? Real? That's pretty much it? Zhu Huntang thought for a while, stayed beside Lu Chang'an, and was unwilling to go down to play cards. Can you turn me into a little cutie? I want to sit on your shoulders and play, and then return it can crawl over your head. Lu Chang'an's mind pictured Zhu Huntang, who was only the size of a small baby but very agile. If she were that big, she would be able to accept it even if she was naughty. I don't know magic, how can I change? Try it yourself. You see, you can only be so big when you transform into a sheep. It should be no problem if you are smaller. Lu Chang'an shook his head. If I could transform freely, I would have been lawless. I would have snatched away my mother's evil forces and attacked your Zhu Fenglai sword section. From now on, I will be the master of the two major forces. You will be my right and left guardians and play with me every day. Zhu Huntang made no secret of his ambition. You think I didn't join forces with your mother to deal with you, right? Lu Chang'an's tone was not harsh. After all, this was just a lamb that lacked family warmth. Why hasn't my mother come back yet? Is Antarctica far away? Your mother can't teleport. You've been to Antarctica once or twice, right? Don't you feel how far it is? I don't feel anything. It's basically a direct flight everywhere. Anyway, I just played on the plane and got some sleep. Damn, old man, did the Earth have another shape in ancient times? I feel like it couldn't have always been round. Zhu Huntang began to think about issues in natural science and geography. It has always been round. Lu Chang'an had just had a sense of the atmosphere of an ordinary family conversation, but immediately broke away from it. Zhu Huntang can easily make people angry when he has fantastic ideas. How is that possible? Maybe the Earth used to be a spaceship. It flew here to the solar system just to absorb energy from the sun. In order to absorb energy more continuously and stably, it turned into a circle and circled around the sun. You are the universe. The captain of the spaceship, and the ultimate purpose of this spaceship is to protect me, the controller of the universe. Zhu Huntang came to the conclusion after thinking. Did you suddenly think of it? This hypothesis is quite interesting, except for the bleeding universe and the like. It's been a bit cold these days. I think the sun has absorbed too much energy, causing the temperature of the Earth to drop. Do you think I can win the Baobier Literature Prize if I study in this area? Zhu Huntang is a little ready to make a move and win it himself. After this award, you should be able to be selected as an academician. In Lu Chang'an's eyes, academicians are still very powerful. If he becomes an academician, why would he not abdicate immediately and give her the position of head of the 9 provinces Fenglai sword sect? Lu Chang'an took a deep breath and replied calmly, first, that is the Nobel Prize, not Baobier. Second, you study this area because you want to write a science fiction novel? Otherwise, why should I award you a literature award? So that's it, I remembered it wrong. Zhu Huntang waved his hand. The literature award cannot select academicians. Cannot. That's not interesting. I know that the literature award is a useless award. You have already said that literature is useless. Zhu Huntang thought for a moment. I will set up a Kyushu Fenglai sword award in the future. Oh? What are you using this to reward? What kind of outstanding contribution is required to obtain it? Lu Chang'an asked with great interest. It is similar to the Oscars. It is judged through the harem selfie videos, and the best performance award is set, which is the kind that clearly did not arrive. Lu Chang'an lifted Zhu Huntang up, walked directly to the balcony on the second floor, and threw her down. He was actually interested in her at first. He should have known that she would not think of anything serious. I would like to recommend to everyone the new book A Divine Girl Was Born in the Building by my old friend 27 Man. Many old people have opened new books this year. I guess they are looking for something to do during the quarantine. Let me introduce 27 Men, the author of the ancient Western fantasy harem classic The Law of Nobility. His writing style and some descriptions of women are more similar to Xiahua. Some people often say that Xiahua is 27 Men, but more people say that Xiahua's his writing style and knowledge base are simply incomparable to others. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1001. En Nuan knew that Lu Chang'an had always been irritable, but she never thought that he would throw Zhu Huntang off the balcony. If she hadn't experienced a lot of things that would have enlarged her brain, she would have screamed in horror now. If the scene was different, if the person was being embarrassed, the witnesses at the scene would probably faint from the fright of such brutal behavior. But what is surprising is that the moment Lu Chang'an took action, Zhu Huntang cursed uncontrollably, her body fell down and she was still shouting that she would take the opportunity to crush Lu Chang'an's head with her scissor feet. Didn't she know that she was in danger? En Nuan stood up subconsciously, only to see a strand of Shang Guandandan's long hair, like a black vine, swaying in the air and wrapping around Zhu Huntang's waist, and slowly put her down. Zhu Huntang, who landed firmly, continued to stand there and pointed at Lu Chang'an on the balcony, accusing him of how cruel he was and how he abused cute little animals. She wanted to send money to small animal protection organizations around the world, so that they could organize and plan. Attack Lu Chang'an, and so on. En Nuan couldn't hear the nonsense she was talking about. She just stared at Shang Guandandan dumbfounded. No wonder Zhu Huntang was so unafraid of death. She always said that as long as Shang Guandandan was by her side, she would even dare to hit Lu Chang'an. Shang Guandandan turned his head and glanced at En Nuan, his eyes widened, and he felt a little introspection. The Queen Mother was actually negligent sometimes. So after Shang Guandandan touched the owl, he placed it between himself and En Nuan, blocking En Nuan's sight. Then he took out a mulberry leaf from his sleeve pocket, frowned and concentrated, and wiped the flying tree with the leaf. That bunch of hair that goes out. The direct effect of the hidden object technique that condensed the time-traveling effect was that En Nuan had not seen Shang Guandandan's special ability to use hair just now. Shang Guandandan breathed a sigh of relief and almost exposed the Queen Mother's special ability. What is she doing? En Nuan was stunned and didn't know why. She looked at Zhou Dongdong next to her. She didn't know whether she hadn't seen it or if it was commonplace. She was playing cards and grabbing them all by herself. Then she announced that she had won, raising her hands in the air and chanting Dan. Sister Dan lost 5 yuan, Sister En Nuan lost 5 yuan, and everyone lost 5 yuan. Lu Chang'an walked back on the balcony. Zhu Huntang knew that he was scared, so he stopped swearing and returned to Shang Guandandan to act coquettishly. Godmother, you also saw that Lu Chang'an was so cruel to me. It's indeed too much. I'll go up and help you teach him a lesson. Seeing Shang Guandandan getting up and going upstairs, Zhu Huntang laughed. En Nuan suddenly thought of a video he had seen. A brother bullied his several-year-old sister. The sister howled and called her mother, and her mother beat her brother so hard that he shrank. When she was beside the bed, the smile on her sister's face was exactly the same as Zhu Huntang's. What people didn't expect was that Lu Chang'an's figure soon appeared on the balcony again. He grabbed Shang Guandandan and threw him downstairs. But instead of throwing, he put his hands under Shang Guandandan's armpits and threw her straight from the balcony. Shang Guandandan landed firmly on the ground, his body stiff, and he was feeling very embarrassed when he suddenly saw Zhou Shuling coming back. He quickly slumped and sat on the ground, showing a sad expression as if he had been bullied by an unfilial son. Dan, what's wrong with you? Zhou Shuling hurried over. Lu Chang'an just threw me off the balcony. Shang Guandandan pointed at the balcony with a finger. Ah! How could he do this? Zhou Shuling went upstairs angrily. And Nuan was stunned again. She was thrown from upstairs. Dong, Mom, shouldn't you first care about whether Shang Guandandan was injured? Zhu Huntang ran over and helped Shang Guandandan up. Only then did Shang Guandandan feel that he had saved some face and explained, I don't want to use force against him. I use softness to overcome hardness, yin to overcome yang, and solve the problem with the principle of one thing subduing another. That's the best strategy. After a while, Zhou Shuling came down from upstairs with slightly red cheeks. She came down the stairs normally and was not thrown down. Dan, I helped you beat up Lu Chang'an. Really, it's okay to bully me and Dong. How can I bully you? After Zhou Shuling finished speaking, she chewed the ham sausage in her mouth. She did hit Lu Chang'an just now, but when she was squealing, Lu Chang'an held a piece of ham sausage against her mouth. Zhou Shuling couldn't avoid it, so she opened her mouth and bit it. However, he pushed her out of the kitchen and living room, so Zhou Shuling had no choice but to, after biting off the ham sausage as a trophy, he temporarily went downstairs to report victory to Shang Guandandan. Lu Chang'an is a bully, Zhu Huntang snorted, and sooner or later he and Dandan made a plan to make Lu Chang'an fall under the resistance of the sect led by the candidate saint and the deputy sect master. And Nuan finally understood that in this family, Zhu Huntang was at the bottom of the family status. Her backer is Shang Guandandan. Shang Guandandan's backer is Zhou Shuling. Zhou Shuling, the elder sister, could control Lu Chang'an, but that was all, except that she was not thrown down from the upstairs. This also means that if I get married to Lu Chang'an in the future, it is almost unlikely that there will be any conflicts between my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. And Nuan also accompanied her mother to watch many family dramas between aunts, mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. Those families with many conflicts are all because the head of the family is not high enough, has no majesty, and cannot suppress the family members, causing his daughter-in-law to suffer everywhere. In response, he could only ask her to think more broadly and consider his difficulties and so on. Preparing for the worst, she and Shang Guandandan and others would not get along well. And Nuan should not be bullied and her husband could do nothing. Of course, and Nuan doesn't really think that she doesn't get along with other people. She and Zhu Huntang actually have a good relationship now. She stopped Zhu Huntang from cheating by playing 2 cards, so she won't offend her, right? This eldest lady should not be so stingy. Shang Guandandan didn't seem to have any ill feelings toward An Nuan. Under Lu Chang'an's guidance, he even gained some first impression points. As for Zhou Shuling, I have known her for a long time. She is the kind of person that everyone thinks is easy to get along with. If you can't get along with Zhou Shuling, then you may have to examine yourself to see if there is something wrong with her. Sister Zhou, it's been a long time since I came to your store to eat noodles. I heard from Chang'an that the store in Hexi will open soon, so it will be much more convenient to eat noodles. And Nuan greeted Zhou Shuling with a smile. I was in a hurry to scold him and didn't have time to say hello to you. Don't be surprised, Zhou Shuling said embarrassedly. She was a little anxious when she saw Shang Guandandan fall to the ground. It's okay. We were playing cards just now, but he should be almost ready now. How about going upstairs to eat hot pot? And Nuan said. Okay, let's finish the hot pot early. You can continue playing cards. Normally Dandan always goes to the card hall to find people to play with. Today we can gather people at home to play with her more. Zhou Shuling pulled Zhou Dongdong and Shang Guandandan said as he walked upstairs. When playing cards at night, you must set the rules and you can't play randomly. Zhu Huntang has almost never won, and he is holding back his anger and preparing to make a comeback. And Nuan couldn't help but glance at Zhu Huntang, who happened to be looking at her too. Both of them couldn't help but wonder, what does she mean by looking at me? Do you think there's something wrong with my playing? I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1002. After finishing the hot pot, everyone gathered lively around the electric heating table, chatting and watching TV, getting ready to eat before playing cards. It's been a long time since a completely harmless guest like An Nuan came to the house. Zhou Shuling remembered that in this situation, children usually have to perform a show, so she said with some expansion, "Zhou Dongdong, perform a show for Sister An Nuan." "Okay, welcome," and Nuan took the lead in applauding. This kind of family traditional repertoire naturally has to be cheered for, although what I disliked most when I was a child was performances, and Nuan will eventually become the person I hate. With a smile on his face, he looked at Zhou Dongdong with positive encouragement. Zhou Dongdong made fists with both hands and jumped to an open space in front of the TV. He stepped back with his left foot, half squatted with his right foot, raised his hands back, and shouted with his head held high, "Ah!" Lu Sin rushed out from under the electric heating table, shaking his head and shouting after Zhou Dongdong. After calling, Zhou Dongdong stood there, looking at everyone expectantly. "She has finished her performance," Shang Guandandan reminded everyone, and then led the applause. Others reacted, Zhu Huntang clapped vigorously, and Nuan clapped without understanding. Zhou Shuling raised her hand to cover the side of her face. Lu Chang'an was so disgusted, and was looking at Zhou Shuling with a half-smile. Why was he so arrogant, to propose such a thing? What about things? "Zhou Dongdong, what kind of performance did you just perform?" Lu Chang'an asked. "Barking like a dog. Then next time there is a cultural activity in school, you can sign up for this program. Children should be encouraged to perform programs, which can train them to express themselves and improve their self-confidence." Lu Chang'an gave Zhou Dongdong advice out of a positive education mentality. Zhou Shuling first showed an apologetic smile towards An Nuan. Just when An Nuan wanted to say it didn't matter, Zhou Dongdong's performance was quite cute, Zhou Shuling bit her lip, picked up her fist fiercely and punched Lu Chang'an. Only then did An Nuan understand. It turns out that Zhou Shuling's apology means, "Sorry, I can't help but beat your man." "Zhou Dongdong, didn't you win the prize with your airplane dance in the square dance competition?" Zhou Shuling said angrily. This is where her confidence lies. Obviously Zhou Dongdong won the competition last time, and now she can still perform a show. What's going on? They didn't reward me with delicious food. I already forgot about it. Zhou Dongdong thought for a moment and said. Certificates and prizes are useless, so the dance to win certificates and prizes is obviously useless. Zhou Dongdong naturally will jump again. Lu Chang'an laughed again when he saw Zhou Shuling's expression. Zhou Shuling didn't want to hit Zhou Dongdong in front of An Nuan, so she hit Lu Chang'an a few times. "It's my turn to put on a show." Some volunteered. "Hey!" Zhu Huntang imitated the cry of a sheep loudly. When Lu Chang'an's mood changed drastically and his attention was distracted, he spit out a peanut from his mouth and hit Lu Chang'an's chest. "This is my newly invented second form of alpaca kung fu. It combines the complex application of acting and psychology. I first analyzed the situation and knew that imitating the sheep's cry at this time will make you think that I am imitating Zhou Dongdong, which will make you angry. It's hard to be vigilant, misjudge the situation, and then keenly seize the opportunity to spit out a deadly weapon and cause serious injuries to you." Zhu Huntang interpreted his series of operations calmly, and finally looked at Lu Chang'an with a sneer. "What if what I spit out just now was poison? Needle, you have been poisoned to death, and you need a woman to give you drugs, just like the ones in the TV series." Lu Chang'an just wanted her to be seriously injured now, but An Nuan and Zhou Shuling held him on the left and right. allowing Zhu Huntang to seize the opportunity and hide behind Shang Guandandan. Dong Dong and Xiao Tang are both cute, giggle. Shang Guandandan laughed while hugging the thermos bottle. The performances were wonderful, I will reward them. As he spoke, Shang Guandandan took out 2 planet cups from his sleeve pockets and rewarded them to his 2 goddaughters. When An Nuan saw Shang Guandandan's reward, she was a little envious and wanted it. However, at such an old age, she was too embarrassed to take the initiative to perform. After all, not everyone can do Zhu Huntang's style. Have you seen that every time Zhu Huntang and Zhou Dongdong do something stupid, it is Shang Guandandan who is conniving and covering up? Lu Chang'an said to Zhou Shuling, hoping that Zhou Shuling would understand Shang Guandandan's true face and not cater to Shang Guandandan without any bottom line. Shang Guandandan. Zhou Shuling is no longer angry, she just purses her lips and smiles. Zhou Dongdong is not like other children. She has a family of grandparents who love and pamper her. What's wrong with having a little sister who always plays with her? Shang Guandandan wouldn't really lead Zhou Dongdong into trouble. Why didn't Lu Chang'an know this? He was just talking. It's your turn, Lu Chang'an said to An Nuan. Zhou Dongdong and Zhu Huntang have already shown the lower limit of performance show. They have to let An Nuan tell them what a show performed by normal people looks like. He has great confidence in his girlfriend. An Nuan is a sports student, and the sports she is good at may not be suitable for family performances, but she is still Professor Liu's daughter. Professor Liu is a typical representative of many talents. Traditional music, chess, calligraphy, and painting are not a problem. His singing and dancing are not very professional, but his figure and appearance are a plus, and he is also pleasing to the eye. Under An Nuan's influence, there would definitely be no problem in performing a normal show. An Nuan didn't expect to be ordered by Lu Chang'an, so she couldn't help but feel a little shy and coughed lightly, okay. An Nuan thought for a moment, and if she couldn't perform too well, she would be suspected of showing off in front of Zhu Huntang and Zhou Dongdong. People with normal emotional intelligence know that they should not stand out at this time, but should choose someone who is more in tune with everyone. Way. I have a trick that even Lu Chang'an doesn't know about. An Nuan's eyes rolled and he smiled. After speaking, she stuck out her tongue and pushed the 2 sides of her tongue toward the middle. The tips of her tongue wrinkled together to form a square shape. Zhou Shuling couldn't help laughing, and then tried to imitate, but found that she couldn't do it. Zhu Huntang and Shang Guandandan also imitated it, but found that this seemed to really require talent, and immediately clapped and praised An Nuan's talent. Zhou Dongdong also stuck out his tongue. If he didn't imitate successfully, he continued to lick the planet cup clean. As long as his tongue could lick the food, it would be fine. Good performance. Shang Guandandan poured a bowl of water and took out a planet cup to reward An Nuan. Lu Chang'an now believes that his sister Qinyanan is the wisest person. She knows that stupid temperament is contagious, so she has been wary of Zhu Huntang's contamination of Lu Chang'an, while Shang Guandandan, Zhu Huntang, Zhou Dongdong, and others are infecting each other, and now it has spread to An Nuan, which is a typical human-to-human transmission phenomenon. Hey, An Nuan took the planet cup and showed it off in front of Lu Chang'an, feeling very proud. That was the end of the show. Lu Chang'an no longer tried to get Shang Guandandan and Zhou Shuling to perform. The 2 of them had no talent in the first place. Let's play cards, let's get down to business. After playing cards all night, everyone dispersed. Zhu Huntang took her low-altitude aircraft and flew directly to the top of Building 1 of Beilong Center. Lu Chang'an didn't worry about her safety, whether she would fall or anything like that. Miss Zhu liked to seek death, but she cherished her life very much. She let the helicopter fly overhead and tied a safety rope around her waist as insurance. Then she stepped on the low-altitude aircraft and flew away. As a caring and good boyfriend, Lu Chang'an naturally wanted to take An Nuan to the car in person. The 2 of them walked downstairs together. Zhou Shuling, who was standing in the stairwell, told her to pay attention to safety. It was best to send An Nuan home. Zhou Dongdong went upstairs with 5 yuan in his pocket, feeling like it was Chinese New Year again. It was too late. Shang Guandandan did not sit next to the electric heating table and watch TV. He went back to sleep. The Queen Mother would continue to distribute leaflets tomorrow, so she had to go to bed early to have the energy to work. Lu Chang'an and An Nuan walked to the gate of the community. An Nuan was about to take out her mobile phone and take a taxi, but Lu Chang'an held her hand and walked back. What? An Nuan showed a slightly shy smile, squeezed the hand he held a little harder, and raised it high. Baby Nuan clearly wanted to go home, but her feet followed him disobediently. Because you are thin-skinned, you must be embarrassed to ask you to stay the night in front of so many people. If they knew you were staying the night, Shang Guanduntan and Zhou Shuling like to be nosy and embarrassing, so I will secretly let you stay for the night. Take her home. How could Lu Chang'an really let her go home tonight? There is no such reason. When little white rabbits are brought home, they are eaten dry and their mouths wiped clean. How can any of them leave safely in anger? As for why she was so angry, of course the little white rabbit also wanted to show off her softness and cleanliness and have others eat her. I'm not sorry, I was about to leave and Nuan shook her phone. I still have taxi coupons that I can use. I can use your coupons. How to give it? Tonight, old man, I want to push the cart. If the little girl wants to get on the cart, she must pay for the coupon. It's disgusting. How did you, a rickshaw, register for an online ride-hailing service? You are operating illegally. My rickshaw needs to be registered with the Civil Affairs Bureau, and then it can legally go on the road. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Test operation first. Black car. The two chatted obscenely, then walked quietly upstairs. After entering, Lu Chang'an rarely locked the door. After all, he usually leaves the door open, and Zhou Shuling, Shang Guandandan and Zhou Dongdong are all used to barging in directly. An Nuan's cheeks were rosy, and she sat back on the sofa with some trepidation. I didn't bring pajamas, nor did I bring toothpaste, toothbrush and face towel, otherwise, I'll give them back. After saying that, she stood up, silently chanting 1, 2, before she could count to 3, Lu Chang'an pushed her back to sit on the sofa. Satisfied, Lu Chang'an went to get a new toothpaste and toothbrush, and then asked her to wash up. An Nuan looked at herself and Lu Chang'an in the mirror and felt that this was the most daily scene in her long life. Husband An Nuan turned to look at Lu Chang'an, who was brushing his teeth side by side with her, and shouted in her heart. I recommend an old friend's book, The Girl God Born in the Building. The male protagonist in this book is called Lu Sin, and he seems to have a dog named Lu Chang'an, which is a bit unbearable. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chulian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1003. Taking An Nuan into his bedroom, Lu Chang'an asked her to sit by the bed. An Nuan felt as if she had finally been kidnapped by Lu Chang'an. She pressed her hands on the bed, stretched her legs straight, and looked at Lu Chang'an's room. Simple and neat, the sheets and quilt covers were extremely simple and monochromatic, and there were only 2 pillows, both of which were a bit high. Fortunately, An Nuan had fallen asleep with his arm on his pillow several times, so she didn't find it difficult to adapt. There is no special smell in the room, it's mainly because of getting used to his scent. Others might find it smelling particularly refreshing and comfortable. At this time Lu Chang'an came in with a basin of hot water. Our old Lu family has a tradition that a man should wash his wife's feet from time to time. Lu Chang'an put hot water next to An Nuan's feet. Really, An Nuan couldn't help but want to laugh, suspecting that he had made it up temporarily, but who wouldn't like such random fabrications? Really, Lu Chang'an helped her untie her shoelaces, took off her shoes by her ankles, and then peeled off her boat socks, revealing her smooth, white, and tender feet. She held the soles of her feet. They were soft and the sockets were a little tight. She rubbed them with her thumb, and she shrank her legs and giggled. Both feet were put into the hot water, and Nuan couldn't help but let out a comfortable moan. Although she had followed her mother to a foot bath shop to soak her feet in various ways before, she didn't seem to feel as comfortable as today. Psychological effects. I feel very honored to enjoy the tradition of your old Lu family. The blood flow of the feet soaked in hot water accelerated, and the whole body felt warm, and Nuan's cheeks were also flushed. Lu Chang'an's hands were also immersed in the basin, pressing the instep of her feet without any unnecessary movement, just to make her feel more comfortable first. There used to be a lot of foot washing towns in Juncha. Do you have any impressions when you were a child? When you go out for a walk at night, there are foot washing towns, foot bathing towns, and the like everywhere on the street. There are all kinds of them. It gives people the impression that Juncha people, the only thing I did for a day was wash my feet, Lu Chang'an recalled. The popular crosstalk group Kizi Dingbing used to make crosstalk double acts based on various themes of foot washing. I'm a little impressed, but now it's much less. Do you want to say that you can do a great job even if you become a foot washer? And Nuan is well aware of her boyfriend's versatility. Is it just about foot washing, or is it just about foot washing? Just wash her. That's not true. If I were to be a foot washer, I would have to be a beautiful girl of your level to be my customer. Then there would be no business at all. I wouldn't be able to run it as my own boss, and I wouldn't be able to create profits if I work for others. Lu Chang'an shook his head. In fact, whether it is foot washing, bathing, or massage with less direct contact with the skin, it is not something that can be done casually. Those who have never worked in these industries often cannot imagine how smelly some people's feet are, how thick their bodies are with dirt, or how heavy their body odor is. It can spit out the milk you drank when you were a child 10 or 20 years later. A beautiful girl like Nuan is different, fragrant. You know how to flatter me. By the way, when I asked you before why you like me, you always said it's because I'm good looking. Is that really the reason? Even Nuan, who is often praised for her appearance and figure, as a beautiful girl, flattery from her boyfriend will still make people particularly happy. How could a girl in love be immune to his sweet words? Even the 99-valent immune vaccine cannot resist it? Isn't such a reason enough? I remember you said before that you specifically allow me to like you for such a superficial reason. Lu Chang'an began to hold her feet and rub every piece of skin with his thumb. That's not true. Although I allow you to be superficial, I always feel that you are not such a superficial person. And Nuan adjusted her breathing and tried to speak normally. This man's hands seemed to be able to discharge electricity, and girls' feet were particularly easy to itch. Lu Chang'an thought for a while, looked up at her and smiled. Many girls look at it from this perspective, and they will never fall in love again. It's just that Nuan's face is really small and her neck is long, so it won't have any impact. On the contrary, it will cause her cheeks to look fleshy. It feels more cute and soft. Say it quickly. And Nuan gently kicked the water with her other foot and pursed her lips in a strong request. Remember the time we ordered spicy hot pot at Taifu Temple and met Bai Hui and Zhao Wuqiang? Lu Chang'an said. And Nuan nodded vigorously. It was the day he found out that Bai Hui had decided to apply for Hunan University as well, which gave Nuan the idea that this woman must be an old enemy. You are very gossipy. You want to know what Bai Hui and Zhao Wuqiang are talking about. You have an expression of careful listening and astute analysis on your face. You are just like the seventh wife. Lu Chang'an recalled the past Nuan and looked at the Nuan in front of him with a tender expression. Smile. Hate, you're talking about me like that. I will recount their conversation to you, later. The situation suddenly changed and the war was approaching. Zhao Wu was violent and about to take action. You suddenly shouted, "By who?" And Nuan was a little confused and tilted her head to look at him. She was clearly talking about why he liked her, so why did she suddenly mention Bai Hu? At this time, no matter how many thoughts you have about Bai Hui and how displeased you are with her, you are always trying to help Bai Hui. It is this kind of kindness. So later in the chat with Bai Hui, you suddenly asked me, "Lu Chang'an, when are you planning to fall in love?" I asked, "Aren't I talking to you?" Lu Chang'an smiled. This is the cuteness of an Nuan. If the sheep mother were replaced, there would only be one possibility: secret observation, contact with Zhao Wuqiang, fire, hint, or manipulation of the subconscious. Zhao Wuqiang would take action against Bai Hui. That's it. And Nuan looked like a child who was praised for doing a little good deed, blushing and feeling embarrassed. Yeah, I think people can live without being kind, but they must know that kindness is a virtue, and you can't think that kindness is ridiculous or unnecessary just because you are not kind. Kindness is also the beauty that should not be ridiculed or let down. Except hypocrisy and bitch. Lu Chang'an really likes those kind people and small animals. Why do you like Zhou Dongdong? Because she is cute and kind. Why do you like An Nuan? Because she is beautiful and kind. I'm always moved by what you say. An Nuan looked at Lu Chang'an with soft eyes, feeling his fingers brushing between her toes, as if he were stroking her heart softly. I finally got through it. Lu Chang'an breathed out, looking very difficult. Looking for a fight, and Nuan gently hit his shoulder, and was a little curious. What does bitch mean? This is the first time I heard this word. Treat kindness as a performance, sell the disguised kindness like a prostitute selling her body, so as to gain something: money, attention, moral superiority, self-satisfaction, etc. Lu Chang'an explained, the word he coined casually, in fact, pretty much the same thing as hypocrisy. And Nuan thought about it and realized that she was definitely not a bitch, so that was okay. Feeling that the water temperature had dropped a bit, Lu Chang'an added some hot water and gave her another dip. Do you think my feet are a bit big? And Nuan actually felt that these were the only imperfections on her body. If Lu Chang'an hadn't often kissed her feet when they were right next to his face, they would have been a little bit smaller. He didn't mean to dislike it either. And Nuan would hide when his feet were exposed in front of him. With your height, if you have 36 or 37 feet, wouldn't it be deformed? It's already a little smaller than the balanced size for this height, which looks pretty good. In fact, the key is that the instep is smooth and fleshy, the toes are round, and the the ankles are full, without the appearance of thick bones or tight veins, so they are considered the best. Lu Chang'an is well aware of this, but his aesthetics have always been very healthy. Even when the small foot culture that harmed women's health was at its most popular, he had no interest in it. If you were born in ancient times, you must be someone like Li Yu or Yuan Mei. And Nuan said with great admiration. He could play, eat, and live, and he could write a book about his experiences. Most of them were written by Lu Chang'an. It is smell the fragrance and know the jade. Ha ha ha. Lu Chang'an laughed a few times, but the meaning was unclear. Lu Chang'an concentrated on washing An Nuan's feet. He looked at the moist and warm little feet soaked in the water and kneaded them in his hands. His fingers passed through the gaps between the toes. After no longer chatting to distract his mood, An Nuan's nerves seemed to be sensitive in the silence. A little bit, whether the soles of the feet were clenched, or a few toes were stretched together, the pursed lips still showed a shy arc, and the watery eyes looked at the teasing look he raised from time to time. After washing An Nuan's feet, Lu Chang'an went to pour water and washed her feet casually. Then he returned to the bedroom and found that she had taken off her pants and was sitting on the quilt. His upper body was still intact, and he had not even taken off his coat. He was holding his mobile phone and seemed to be concentrating on playing games. But her cheeks were rosy and her ears looked red under the bright light. She didn't even look at Lu Chang'an when he walked into the room. What are you nervous about? It's not like we are dual cultivators for 2 days. Lu Chang'an looked at her pretending to be calm and reached out to pinch her earlobe. The tingling sensation coming from the pink and tender softness made Nuan shrink down immediately. She threw away the phone with a squeak and huddled into the bed. Nuan only felt Lu Chang'an's warm breath surrounding her. Except for the first time, they had always had sex at her own home. Now that she was in an unfamiliar environment, she was inevitably a little nervous. What she was most worried about was that her mother would often hear her voice at home, which was embarrassing enough. But if Shang Guandandan or Zhou Shuling noticed her here, wouldn't it be even more embarrassing? Just because of this, it seems that there is no need to resist doing what Lu Chang'an loves most as a lover. Beautiful girls are not too obsessed with the release of desires, but they are normal people after all, especially Lu Chang'an's kisses and other small tricks, which can always make pure girls feel a sense of physical betrayal. Just can't do it? Just thinking about it, I felt a little hot in the bed. At this time, Nuan, who was sleeping next to the bed, found that the quilt had been lifted a little. Lu Chang'an just took off her clothes and pants after she hid in the bed, walked around the bed to the other side, lifted a little of the quilt, and let her hide under the quilt, while he took off her clothes. Extra 10,000 words will be uploaded at night. I forgot to help with the through train, so let me add, click on the author's words to directly save the godly girl born in the building. I'm going to cry. Go check it out. Why are you saying it's my trumpet? I died unjustly. I have always been a fan of the protagonist of my novels and will not write Lu Chang'an as someone else's dog, animal. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1004. There were birds chirping outside the window in the morning. Nuan stretched out in her sleep and shook her hands. She felt her palms were a little hot, and then she realized that she was holding him to sleep again. Holding hands, so loving. Nuan had heard that when some couples first started living together, the girl would lead her boyfriend around the room all day long. He. Thinking about that scene, she was very ashamed. Nuan smiled and woke up. She shrank down and lay motionless in his arms. She just felt that such a morning was too beautiful. No wonder so many people want to live together and get married after falling in love. Oops. This was not his own home. Only then did Nuan remember that the reason why she got up so early was to leave as soon as possible. She quickly sat up straight, but she didn't know that Lu Chang'an stretched out his hand again, hugged her slender waist, and directly hugged her to his body. I'm leaving. I'll go out and have breakfast and come back to you. Nuan stroked Lu Chang'an's cheek and said softly. Do a set of radio gymnastics and then go, 1 2 3 4, 5 6 7 8, 2 2 3 4, 5 6 7 8. Nuan left Lu Chang'an's house with her hands in her pockets, trying to walk in front of Bailong Center and have breakfast in the alley. Her footsteps paused, and Shang Guandandan was actually sitting on the stone pier at the street entrance early in the morning, drinking water leisurely and looking forward to the pedestrians passing by to take away her flyers. There are very few people on the road, and with this method of distributing flyers, Nuan probably won't be able to distribute them all in one day. It's just that now is not the time to pay attention to this issue. Nuan's cheeks are warm and she regrets doing radio gymnastics with Lu Chang'an. Did Shang Guandandan get up and leave home before the broadcast gymnastics time, or did he leave when the broadcast gymnastics was in full swing upstairs? Nuan couldn't be sure, and it was not convenient to test. Even if the other party's return to youth showed some childish behavior, the adult's palace should still be there, and it was not something she, a 19-year-old girl, could test. Hi, Dandan. And Nuan still mustered up the courage to walk over, so he wouldn't go around in a big circle to avoid her. Morning, Nuan, have you had breakfast? Shang Guandandan finished drinking the water, put the thermos on his lap, and sat upright. When working, you must sit with a posture, not like sitting on an electric heating table. He shrank forward and only exposed his head. No. I was planning to buy some and then have breakfast with Lu Chang'an, and Nuan said with a smile, you haven't eaten yet, have you? I plan to work first and eat rice noodles when the rice noodle shop opens. This way I don't have to spend money. The Queen Mother will naturally live a smart life and spend money to buy breakfast outside. She should do it as little as possible and not be frugal. At the same time, Shang Guandandan also discovered why Anyuan couldn't beat Anyuan. Look at this person, he doesn't even draft a lie, his face looks as usual and he is smiling. If Bai Hui was in this situation, he would have already been tongue-tied. Then let me hand out the flyers for you, and then we go buy breakfast together. It will be 10 o'clock when the rice noodle shop opens, and Nuan bent down and took all the flyers in his hand. She planned to help Shang Guandandan post them all, otherwise she wouldn't be able to post a few in a day, and Nuan knew that Shang Guandandan had already posted all day yesterday. Only, there seems to be some problem. Dan, the activity advertised in the flyer ended last night, and Nuan was stunned. Yes, Shang Guandandan nodded and continued to convey his expectations to passers-by with his eyes. In other words, it is meaningless to distribute these leaflets again today. What does this have to do with me? Shang Guandandan disagreed. She was only responsible for distributing leaflets. It means that generally speaking, you have to distribute the flyers before last night before the company organizing the event will give you money. If you distribute all the flyers today, you won't get any money, and Nuan observed carefully. Shangwen's expression was so dull that he was really afraid that she would cry wow after knowing the ending. After all, Shang Guandandan looks like the type who is very cute and can cry for a long time. Shang Guandandan was stunned. The thermos flask rolled off his lap, hit the ground with a bang, and bounced onto the road. And Nuan quickly picked up the thermos flask, which was Shang Guandandan's beloved one. As a result, he didn't even care about the thermos flask. The body and mind were sluggish there, which shows the heavy blow he received. How could this happen? Shang Guan tilted his head and looked at Nuan with tears in his eyes. The industrious Dan worked hard until the second day, and planned to finish the payment within 3 days. He worked so hard and devotedly, but in the end he didn't get paid. For such a beautiful little girl, her eyes were as full as spring ponds. The tears that were swirling in her eyes were about to drip down like raindrops. It really made Nuan a little panicked and nervous. Shouldn't she tell her truth? Just when Nuan was racking his brains to think of a way to comfort Shang Guandandan, Zhu Huntang appeared holding a little lamb. What's going on? Zhu Huntang looked at Nuan suspiciously. Could it be that she was so bold that she bullied Dandan? It is indeed Lu Chang'an's dragon spirit potfly. And Nuan quickly told Zhu Huntang what happened. After all, Zhu Huntang was more familiar with Shang Guandandan and should know how to deal with the current Shang Guandandan. And Nuan really didn't want to see Shang Guandandan's teardrops fall. You are stupid, help her pay it, and then tell her that you will help her collect her salary. Can't we just advance a few hundred yuan and be done with it? Zhu Huntang glanced at the area above Nuan's neck. There was a growth here. What the hell? And Nuan patted her forehead. Why didn't she think of it? Can it still be like this now? And Nuan asked softly. Help me hold the sheep. Zhu Huntang took the opportunity to bossy Nuan. And Nuan took the rope, and the little lamb was looking at Nuan. It was all white, its eyes were lively, and even the hair on its ears seemed to be burnt yellow by the fire. Dandan, it doesn't matter. We will distribute the flyers with you, and then I will ask the company to hold the promotional activities on the flyers again. Zhu Huntang is the godmother's carrying little cotton padded jacket, and Lu Chang'an, a bad old man, is always in control. When the black heart fills the hole with water and freezes the little cotton padded jacket. But the event date was yesterday. What does it matter if yesterday's event is held today? It seems it really doesn't matter. Shang Guandandan burst into tears and smiled. Zhu Huntang provided a solution and just said, "We will distribute flyers with you," took the little lamb back from An Nuan and left. It would be fine if An Nuan accompanied him to do this. After all, this is the trouble caused by An Nuan. As a high-end talent like Yang to military advisor, Zhu Huntang only needs to come up with solutions. Who has ever seen a CEO working on the front line other than showing off and promoting? Of course, she also ordered Secretary Jin to wait and communicate with An Nuan to carry out specific matters. With a snap of his fingers, the bread man brought the balancing car that sprayed clouds of mist in all directions. Zhu Huntang led the little lamb and stepped on it, and flew away, hiding his merit and fame. Zhu Huntang got up so early to find Lu Chang'an. She was not so motivated to do anything else. When they arrived at the community, Lu Chang'an had already gotten up and was sitting under the sycamore tree playing with a plane. "What are you doing?" Zhu Huntang saw something like a plane for the first time. Even a very knowledgeable and well-informed person like Zhu Huntang often gained more knowledge because of Lu Chang'an. "A piece of bedboard has sprouted and grown a knot. I plan to smooth it out." After Lu Chang'an finished speaking, he glanced at Zhu Huntang. As expected, she just nodded and showed no surprise at the bedboard sprouting thing. Lu Chang'an sighed and reassembled the various parts that were disassembled by the plane. "What's this called?" Zhu Huntang thought it was a bit funny, a bit like a razor that Zhu Huntang wanted to shave around on his face. "Plane. A woodworking tool used for straightening, thinning, and polishing. Because of its invention and the invention of many woodworking tools, our people were the first in the world to use hardwood to make furniture. Otherwise, how could those Huanghuali furniture be worth thousands of gold? Because at the same time, we were the only ones who could extensively use those hard, top-quality woods to make furniture," Lu Chang'an explained. "Then does anyone say that Rome already invented the plane? Of course, everything originated in Rome. All technologies were invented by Rome first. Recently, someone has proved that the technology of Wave Rider missiles has been used as a siege tool in the Roman period." Lu Chang'an nodded firmly. Zhu Huntang he didn't expect to be able to praise this. "Ha ha ha." Zhu Huntang laughed. "Why are you leading the sheep so early in the morning?" Lu Chang'an asked after she finished laughing. Seeing her leading a sheep, there was always a feeling that she was leading herself, which was very wrong. "Especially this little lamb, it looks very naughty and playful. Let's play together." Only then did Zhu Huntang remember his business and demanded firmly, "Since my mother is coming back, you and she must accompany me to the amusement park for a day first, otherwise you will teach me no matter how hard you teach me in the future. They won't be obedient. I want you to study hard, but you still have to make conditions, right? There is nothing in this world that cannot be negotiated with conditions." "Yeah. Damn old man. Okay, but since we agreed, if you don't study hard after playing and behave all day long, don't blame me and your mother for dealing with you." Even though I didn't believe she would be good, I still agreed first. Thank you everyone for your generous tips. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1005. Lu Chang'an agreed, and Zhu Huntang suddenly became arrogant. Even the sect leader of Zhou's Hufenglai sword sect and the leader of the super evil force in the world still wanted to accompany Bimea to play in the amusement park, and he completely fell under her control. In control? So Zhu Huntang snatched the plane from Lu Chang'an's hand, looked at it casually, held the handles on both sides and made two scraping motions towards Lu Chang'an's face, then plane a few times on the armrest of his recliner, and pushed. There are a few more gaps on the upper part of the hand. Lu Chang'an snatched the plane back, pointed at the deck chair and said, "Come with me on the chair, or I'll beat you up." The basis for Zhu Huntang to do whatever he wanted was that she was neither afraid of compensation nor afraid of being beaten. She nodded. "Since I want to accompany you on the chair, then let me continue to practice carpentry skills on your chair. I am not special." If I want to improve my woodworking skills to the extreme, after planing this chair, I can probably reach the same level as Lubin. Zhu Huntang, you are actually an idiot, but you think you are a genius. You think you only need to put in a little learning process to reach the heights that others have worked hard for all their lives. Where does this inexplicable self-confidence come from? Lu Chang'an looked at Zhu Huntang in bewilderment. The brain circuit of this strange creature was too difficult to understand. Even the gibberish of a mental patient can often be traced. As long as you follow the mental patient's thinking, you can more or less understand it. Can understand a little bit. Zhu Huntang's self-confidence is even more elusive than that of a mental patient. The most ridiculous thing is that when she tries to do something with full confidence and then fails miserably, her self-confidence is not affected at all. She still acted like it was not me who was wrong, there must be something wrong with the world, or she thought it was the will of the universe that prevented her from succeeding. Zhu Huntang frowned. Since you don't even understand this question, how can you have the nerve to say that others are idiots? Since you think I am an idiot, why do you ask me for questions you can't understand? Probably because although you think I am an idiot, you are an idiot, but you realize that you are no better than me. Lu Chang'an grabbed the plane, and the plane scraped a deep mark on the edge of the handle of the lounge chair. Go back, he weakly pointed to the sky in the distance. The top of Building 1 of Bailong Center was still hidden in the clouds and mist. It was the residence of the ferry. Think about it carefully. My confidence must have been infected by you. Zhu Huntang didn't go back. She got up early in the morning and wanted to play with Lu Chang'an for a long time, but it wasn't yet time for him to jump up and hit her in anger. How could she go back? Lu Chang'an raised his head and glanced at her. An excellent person will of course infect the people around him, making others improve and become even better. For example, Zhou Dongdong learned simple kindness from him, and, well, in short, she still learned something from him. If she only followed Zhou Shuling, she would be just a stupid but edible ordinary child. But he doesn't have Zhu Huntang's inexplicable confidence. Everything has its origin. For example, the current universe was originally just a very ordinary one among countless universes, but because of my needs, it turned into a bleak universe and became more advanced. Zhu Huntang has already come to a conclusion and decided educate Lu Chang'an to know some hidden truths in the universe. Lu Chang'an pressed his forehead and thought in his heart. Since the birth of life, Zhu Huntang has been no less rare than strange beings like Shang Guandandan. It is very necessary to protect her survival, but turning her into a mute will not affect her survival status. Just like the screaming panda is a national treasure, the mute panda is also a national treasure. My self-confidence also has roots. First, it is the correct understanding of one's own excellence, talent, and IQ, which leads to self-confidence. Zhu Huntang pointed to herself. Lu Chang'an was silent. The problem is that this first point often only gives people ordinary self-confidence. For example, Qin Yinan is based on her figure and breasts, and Nuan is based on her telegraph pole legs and small volleyball butt, and Dong Dong is based on her belly. Are all ordinary self-confidence, and extraordinary self-confidence naturally comes from the extraordinary. Having said this, Zhu Huntang raised his head and glanced at the sky, and then let his gaze fall deeply on Lu Chang'an. Only an extraordinary being like you can give me even more extraordinary self-confidence. Zhu Huntang folded his arms in a leisurely manner. Then tell me, when is a man most confident? When a man is most confident, he should be most satisfied with his ambition, feeling that there is nothing he can't do and nothing can stop him. Lu Chang'an thought for a while and said, self-confidence is the same thing for him all the time, but it doesn't matter. There is no huge gap between the most confident and the least confident. Zhu Huntang stretched out two fingers and shook his head. It was not that he was denying Lu Chang'an, but that what he said was meaningless. A man is most confident when he conquers a woman. When you and the Antarctic met again, her deep affection, her attachment, she obviously hated you, but she finally gave in to loving you. The Antarctic obviously wanted to kill you, but she threw herself into your arms. She obviously wanted to eat her flesh alive, but in the end she still used her body to bring you joy. You are the most confident at this time, so you deliver nutrients to the Antarctic people. At the same time, this confidence is also transmitted to her body when this brilliance blooms, and is absorbed by me. This is the second source of extraordinary confidence. Only after Lu Chang'an heard about it halfway did he realize that the Antarctic person Zhu Huntang was talking about was Sume, that is, her mother, Mrs. Susan. Zhu Huntang always thought that Mrs. Susan had an affair with Lu Chang'an when she was pregnant. Even if Sume comes back, can she really take care of this sheep that is always on the verge of being turned into a gestational sac nutrition ball? Crack. The recliner finally couldn't bear Lu Chang'an's uncontrollable anger and was broken into pieces and scattered on the ground. Zhu Huntang saw Lu Chang'an looking as ferocious and cruel as when he turned into a chicken that day. He was so frightened that he quickly pushed him, picked up the lamb on the ground, and hurriedly ran into Shang Guandandan's room. Lu Chang'an was suppressing the feeling of being angry and about to transform. He was unprepared and was pushed almost into the wall by her again. After being stunned for a moment, Lu Chang'an came to his senses. It seemed that Zhu Huntang's burst of power could really be induced and trained. But now is not the time to be happy. If he doesn't hit her today and she forgets to bleed, he will imitate her. When she ran away, she actually didn't forget to take away the little lamb she was holding. Lu Chang'an followed him and ran into Shang Guandandan's room. There was a small stove doused with water at the door, which meant that Shang Guandandan got up especially early today. After boiling the water, he went out for a walk with the thermos in his hand. At first glance, there was no figure of Zhu Huntang in the room, and Lu Chang'an's eyes fell on the bronze coffin. The May double monthly pass has started, rush. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1006. The room was small and had a clear view. Except for the coffin and under the bed, there was no place to hide anyone. Although Zhu Huntang was good at rolling and struggling on the ground, he usually did not hide under the dusty bed, and the Queen Mother did not have the strength to clean it there. Lu Chang'an remembered that Zhu Huntang lay in this coffin. That time, I took Zhu Huntang to track bats, and then rescued the vampire on the top of the elephant trunk nest. Zhu Huntang was stimulated by Lu Chang'an's blood. The next day when he came to eat a goose with firewood, he suddenly fainted from stress. Shang Guandandan took him there. Zhu Huntang was put into the coffin and rescued. Previous summary. From then on, Zhu Huntang hugged Shang Guandandan's thigh and began to rely on Shang Guandandan to provoke and confront Lu Chang'an. There is no doubt that Zhu Huntang is hiding in the coffin now. Lu Chang'an stretched out his finger and pushed the coffin cover, but it didn't move at all. When Qin Yinan just delivered the bronze coffin, Lu Chang'an tried it, but with the brute force of the human form, it was basically impossible to open it. But if he really needs to use more brute force, will he shock Zhu Huntang to death inside? He was so angry that he wanted to make her into a kebab, but he always had to worry about not really hurting her. No wonder since ancient times, so many fathers and mothers have been so angry that they have become autistic due to their unfilial sons. In fact, it was Shang Guandandan's fault for always supporting Zhu Huntang. Even if he was not here, he still left a refuge for Zhu Huntang to avoid physical pain. Lu Chang'an raised his hand and banged the coffin cover a few times to show that he knew she was hiding inside. You will never come out if you can. Zhu Huntang is indeed in the coffin. Of course she won't stay out forever, but she can touch the lamb and play with her phone at the same time. When Shang Guandandan comes back, she will dare to come out. Lu Chang'an walked out. The most important thing he lacked was patience. Shang Guandandan was hiding in the coffin and couldn't come out, but in the end he couldn't bear it anymore and was abducted by him. Spend time with him. He. Lu Chang'an returned to the plane tree and saw that the lounge chair was broken. He cleaned it up, picked up the scattered parts and put them under the stairs. During breakfast, he did not go upstairs to avoid Zhu Huntang taking the opportunity to escape. Zhou Dongdong carefully carried 2 bowls of noodles downstairs on a dinner plate. The two of them finished the noodles together under the sycamore tree. Zhou Dongdong took another went upstairs with plates and bowls. While Lu Chang'an continued to sit on the small bench downstairs and wait, Zhou Dongdong rushed down from upstairs, holding a pair of crooked coal tongs in one hand and a grey-white snakeskin bag in the other, happily preparing to go to school. "Wait, what are you doing?" It was the first time Lu Chang'an saw Zhou Dongdong's positive attitude towards going to school. "Pick up garbage," Zhou Dongdong answered Brother Chang'an while looking around with wide eyes, hoping that there would be garbage to pick up soon. Is this another activity in school about learning and helping others? Lu Chang'an remembered that Zhou Dongdong was a model of helping others in his place. "No, I want to pick up garbage and sell it for money. Songdazi and I made an appointment to pick up garbage together on the way to and from school. When we make money, we will buy a garbage truck and pick up more garbage while playing Papa Team songs." Garbage, the songs played by the garbage trucks nowadays are not good to listen to. Zhou Dongdong looked up at the sky, imagining himself filling one snakeskin bag after another with garbage. Lu Chang'an nodded. It turned out that when they were at Nanshan Ranch, everyone was chatting about what kind of car they wanted to buy. Bai Hui said he wanted to buy a Ferrari, Zhou Shuling wanted to buy a van, and Zhou Dongdong wanted to buy a garbage truck. In the end, only Zhou Dongdong took action and was ready to work hard to realize his ideal. It's worth encouraging. "Wait!" Lu Chang'an shouted to Zhou Dongdong, who was about to rush towards his great career. He took a piece of wire and made a circle and sewed it on the opening of the snakeskin bag. Then he inserted the remaining piece of wire into a wooden stick. When she picks up rubbish, she doesn't have to open the snakeskin bag frequently, and can pick up rubbish more efficiently and effortlessly. "Thank you, Brother Chang'an," Zhou Dongdong said happily. "Songdazi definitely doesn't have such a powerful garbage bag." "Well, go ahead, and remember to only pick up dry garbage. Don't pick up glass bottles or things with sharp points," Lu Chang'an warned. "Got it." Zhou Dongdong opened his arms and rushed towards the work of picking up garbage. Lu Chang'an smiled and shook his head. This is the fun of educating a child, helping her grow and providing support for her little ideas and clever ideas. But none of these pleasures can be obtained from the sheep. Just as he was thinking about how to intensify his torture of Zhu Huntang later, Zhou Dongdong, who was running and jumping in the distance, twisted one foot and fell onto the other foot, with his 2 feet stuck together and his buttocks pressing him. She was frozen there for a moment, unable to stand up, and a woman walking next to her quickly gave her a hand. "Thank you, sister," although generally the sister is the one who gave Zhou Dongdong delicious food, but it can also be the sister who helped Zhou Dongdong. Zhou Dongdong thanked her loudly and continued to walk out of the community with a high profile. Lu Chang'an looked at the woman. She was in her early 20s, with a height of less than 1.75 meters. Her neck was high and slender. A swaying ribbon was tied diagonally on her slender waist. The jeans that hugged her hips curved her lower body. The outline is flawless, especially the section of calf under the trouser leg and the crystal heel. The skin is as delicate as jade, as crisp and tender as spring bamboo shoots at this time. Today's young people really have to expose their ankles on cold days, which greatly increases the chance of rheumatic pain in the future. If it causes synovial inflammation and fluid accumulation in the ankle joint cavity, it will induce cartilage degeneration and then evolve into arthritis. It's not impossible. Especially for many girls, uterine cold is caused, and the consequences are more serious. Needless to say, Lu Chang'an shook his head and thought about it carefully. The girls and women around him didn't seem to have this hobby. As a female athlete, Nuan usually takes special care of her body. What's more, her current body is extraordinary. No longer afraid of the cold air entering the body. However, there is an old classmate who often compromises on keeping warm for the sake of beauty. If you have the opportunity, please remind her, lest she has a physical problem in the future and comes to ask for nutritional essence, which will make Lu Chang'an a little embarrassed. However, this old classmate now has a good relationship with Shang Guandandan. If it is some female disease, he might only ask Shang Guandandan for help, but not Lu Chang'an. From this point of view, Shang Guandandan is still somewhat useful. Hello, are you Lu Chang'an, Mr. Lu? Lu Chang'an was just thinking about whether he should sit back and wait. The woman who had just helped Zhou Dongdong came over and looked at Lu Chang'an while looking at her phone and asked. I'm really immortal. Author, Chu Lian Kui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 1007. Lu Chang'an nodded. The woman looked at her phone, probably to confirm his appearance. Someone sent her a photo of himself. It's not uncommon to hear the title Mr. Lu, usually from people he doesn't know well or people who respect him, such as the bread man and Jin Xiaomei who work under Zhu Huntang. Those who like to commit suicide will call him Brother Lu, such as Li Hongfang and Zhu Huntang. He usually doesn't care much about these titles. At present, everyone's seniority relationship is confusing, so everyone can only call each other by his own name. Just like Zhou Shuling regards Lu Chang'an as her younger brother, Zhou Dongdong regards Lu Chang'an as his elder brother. Of course, the source of the confusion is Shang Guandandan. Without her to interfere and take away daughters and daughters-in-law, everyone's seniority relationship would be much simpler and clearer. Shang Guandandan went to distribute flyers early in the morning, but the activities on her flyers seemed to have ended yesterday. After she distributed the flyers, she couldn't get the money. Thinking of this, Lu Chang'an couldn't help showing a warm smile. It's not that I didn't tell her on purpose, I just had a bad memory and forgot. First time we meet, I am Qin Peng's great-granddaughter, Qin Zisi. Seeing the gentle and sunny smile on the face of the young man in front of him, Qin Zisi was a little infected. The corners of his mouth turned up involuntarily, and then stopped, paying attention to the changes in his expression. If it hadn't been for her great-grandfather's repeated instructions to mention this young man's name when she saw him, Qin Zisi would not have reported his family name right away. Great-grandfather's name was not something they, the juniors of the Qin family, could talk about casually. Lu Chang'an dismissed the beautiful scene of Shangwen's eyes filled with tears in his mind, and looked at Qin Zisi standing under the sycamore tree again. The eyebrows are dark and pure, the corners of the eyes are slightly raised, the bridge of the nose is straight, and the lip lines are exquisite. There is indeed some heroic spirit from Qin Peng's childhood, but there is no similarity with Qin Yinan. After all, Qin Yinan was originally Yesijin, and Qin Peng was a cousin. Siblings, there is another layer of blood connection between them. However, what does it mean that the adults of the Qin family, under Qin Peng's instructions, respectfully did not disturb him, but sent the junior to his side? Are you asking him to take care of Qin Zisi again? This is not a problem. After all, the care for Qin Yinan is not because of Qin Peng, but because she is Yesijin. Could it be that Qin Zisi was the junior selected by Qin Peng who really wanted him to take care of him? Zisi? One of the 5 sages of Confucianism. It seems that your great-grandfather has great expectations for you. Lu Chang'an nodded. He was willing to take care of the people sent by Qin Peng just because of Qin Peng. It's not that he has a very deep relationship with the Qin family, so he is not familiar with the current composition of the Qin family. Qin Zisi has never heard of it. I don't dare. When I was born, my father went to the ancestral home to announce the good news, and my great-grandfather happened to turn to Zhangfeng Cotton Shang. Seeing a broken sycamore leaf falling, Qin Zizi gently pushed it aside and said calmly. The young man in front of him was very plainly dressed, but his expression and temperament had something indescribable, arrogance, I can't say that. It just felt like he didn't take her seriously. Qin Zizi naturally couldn't be too enthusiastic. He was probably very confident, after all, when he went to ask for advice from his great-grandfather, the candidate he recommended had not caught the eye of his great-grandfather if he was not an extraordinary young man. What's more, my great-grandfather also knew that the purpose of his mission was extraordinary. Oh, Zi Hui thinks of me, and my clothes cross the water. If I don't think of myself, how can there be no one else? Lu Chang'an understood. Qin Peng liked to name girls in the book of songs. Qin Yanans to the south of Yiya, to the south of Yiya don't be arrogant is the same. Actually, Yishang is quite suitable for naming a girl. It is very charming and uninhibited, and also contains high righteousness and temple atmosphere. Lu Chang'an thought about it carefully and realized that this name is very suitable for naming the heroine of the online novel. Especially those king-style urban articles. The word shang has rich meanings. In Zhengfeng Shang, it means lifting up the lower garment. It is more romantic when used in a girl's name, but in actual use, probably no one will give it to herself. Named after my daughter. The purpose of naming in online articles is to give the character temperament and image. There is nothing wrong with naming it this way. It is exactly what Lu Chang'an said. Sir, you are very talented. Why don't you write it down and leave it to your daughter in the future? Qin Zizi said with a smile. The little girl is not big-hearted, but I won't be fooled. The key is that my daughter's name has been chosen, her name is Lu. Lu Chang'an stopped. Qin Yan'an chose the name, the meaning is good, but the key is that many people now, if you are uneducated, you have to explain your name when you say it, otherwise people will laugh at you in an illiterate way, haha, Lu Biobio. Qin Zizi was a little embarrassed, but he didn't bother to defend himself. He just wondered if he had a daughter? Tell me, Qin, Mr. Qin asked you to find me, what happened to you? Lu Chang'an could tell that, like Qin Yan'an, Qin Peng only told Qin Zizi to come to him, and didn't reveal anything else, what connection he had with the Qin family, what abilities he had, and what he could do for Qin Zizi were not mentioned at all. Qin Peng asked Lu Chang'an to help his juniors, just like Zhou Dongdong asked Lu Chang'an to remember to feed the loaches in her puddles with tofu dregs. These were things that Lu Chang'an was not suitable to refuse. After all, in Lu Chang'an's mind, the impression of Qin Peng was still that of the man who kept saying, eldest brother really loves sister Jin more, and then felt that no one loved him and shaved his hair, but because he put incense stick on his forehead the little boy had to give up his plan to become a monk because it hurt so much to poke his ring scar. Have you heard of alien beasts? Qin Zizi paid attention to the subtle expressions on Lu Chang'an's eyebrows, eyes, and lips. She was responsible for a top-secret level and was not suitable for public tasks, but most people would not take it seriously, even if it was mentioned so casually. He said, there is no suspicion of leaking secrets, so there is no need to be too cautious. But Lu Chang'an's expression didn't change at all, so Qin Zizi couldn't tell anything. Growing up in such a family, it is almost instinctive to learn to read words and emotions. Even if there are careless and ignorant children in the family, it is just a protective look. However, Qin Zizi cannot see any psychological changes in Lu Chang'an in front of him. Oh, there are many in Juncha. Lu Chang'an thought for a moment and realized that he was probably the Turan of Fui Vegetable Company, who became an unsolved case that Juncha police could not solve. At this time, units with higher confidentiality levels would intervene. Lu Chang'an had speculated on this matter before, and it was as expected. Qin Zizi actually works in such a unit, this is normal. Japan has research in this area. It is simply impossible to say that the Chinese government is as ignorant as silly Badian. Yes, there are a lot of Juncha. The person introduced by my great-grandfather was indeed no ordinary person. They haven't appeared in Juncha for a long time, but there are so many of them. They seem to be concentrated here, we have been paying close attention to it. In the past, they were basically nothing major happened, but this time it seems a little serious, and we have to figure out whether it was an accident or whether it's time to increase the level of response. Chinzasi took a look at the surrounding architectural environment with a sense of age, a small shop with a dilapidated and white sign, moss-covered walls, dense tree shade, and an empty terrace with few floor tiles and intact cement surfaces. Could her problem really be like this? Where to solve it? I was a little skeptical for a moment, even if it was my great-grandfather's recommendation. So there has always been a lot of attention, Lu Chang'an nodded. He had no feeling for such attention. This does not mean that he has no information, but it proves that he is unobtrusive and has perfectly integrated into the lives of ordinary people, just like real ordinary people, they will naturally not be paid attention to by such units. Well done, Lu Chang'an praised himself. What help can you provide me? Chinzasi asked patiently. The young man in front of him spoke and acted in a very stylish way. He was calm and nodded from time to time, but it did not mean that he agreed with you, but that he was letting you know. You figure it out on your own or just say that he heard it, and it is difficult to get communicative feedback from him. Chinzasi usually only sees this kind of style in high-ranking elders, such as his great-grandfather. How can I help you? Lu Chang'an laughed, then glanced at Chinzasi again, then picked up the plane and went upstairs without looking back. Chinzasi was left downstairs, and saw a woman with fair skin and beauty, and a figure as undulating as water, coming down from upstairs, with a pair of bare, round, and plump legs in the cold morning, and followed Lu Chang'an in with a smile. The door of the house, with a delicate and attached look, probably knows how to please men. But what does it mean that he left like this without looking back? Chinzasi felt that the other party didn't take her seriously and didn't even intend to talk to her anymore. Frowning, Chinzasi took out his mobile phone and did not call home after all. He just came to meet the person recommended by his great-grandfather today to show his respect for his great-grandfather. It was not impossible to solve Juncha's matter by himself. She tightened the belt around her waist and was about to leave. A beautiful girl wearing a pure white princess dress, white stockings with gold thread, and gray and white ostrich leather high heels ran out from what looked like a utility room. The girl was also holding a little lamb that was jumping around on the spot. Its ears were burnt as if they had been roasted by fire. Chinzasi was stunned for a moment, stared at the girl for a long time, and then shouted uncertainly, "Zhu Huntang." I hid and listened for a long time, and I felt that your voice sounded familiar. When I came out, I saw that it was the little girl from the Qin family who had no sense of presence. Zhu Huntang straightened his body. His high heels today were only 6 centimeters high. Fortunately, wearing BNT, I can barely compete with the opponent in terms of height and aura. The most annoying thing about the women of the Qin family, including Qin Yanan, is their weird heights. People who don't know them think they are from a sports family. Unfortunately, the first floor of Beilong Center is assigned to Qin Yanan, and the second floor is assigned to Qin Yanan. En Nuan and Zhu Huntang had no intention of assigning another building to Chinzasi. I'm older than you. Chinzasi's face darkened. Only now did she confirm that she was really in this dilapidated community. She saw the arrogant third lady of the Zhu family who usually appeared in amazing ostentation. She had never seen her before. Came out of the utility room. Doesn't Zhu Huntang have to disinfect and wipe down other people's chairs before sitting on them? The utility room in front of me is dimly lit. There are traces of people stepping on it over the years. The door panel is even more mottled and there are wet marks from tea soup. It is not a single room in a mansion with bright and clean windows. Haha, I am one of the most senior people in the world. Only people born in the Western Han Dynasty can almost be friends with me. Do you know how many years have passed since the Western Han Dynasty? Thousands and tens of thousands of years, Zhu Huntang hummed. He sighed, and if he had the opportunity to attend the Qin family's family banquet again, he would definitely grab the main seat and sit there. With such a high ranking, he could no longer succumb to Qin's subordinates. Qin Zici ignored Zhu Huntang's nonsense, adjusted his mood, and said with a smile, "Why is the third lady here? Do you know Lu Chang'an? Why do you ask me why I am here? Why do you ask me how I know Lu Chang'an? Haha, there is a self-righteous arrogance hidden in your words. You look down on our place and think this is a mermaid with a noble status, the fish is condescending. You just came to this place, and you feel that you are the one who was condescended to by the fish, bah. Bah bah. Zhu Huntang is a person who can read an emotional fan chart from one look in another person's eyes, but he still can't hear the arrogance hidden in Qin Zici's words. I didn't mean that. Qin Zici put his hands in his pockets and denied helplessly. This Zhu Huntang was still so unreasonable, and he didn't know how the eldest sister could be her best friend. Because of work, Qin Zici has not spent much time with the younger generations of the Qin family over the years, let alone Zhu Huntang. They have only known each other since they were children, and they are considered familiar with each other. They know that Zhu Huntang has always been like this. It doesn't matter, you are just a mortal, and it is understandable that you are short-sighted. With someone like you appearing, Lu Chang'an will definitely find me cute and well-educated. If I go to play with him now, I won't get beaten. After Zhu Huntang finished speaking, he yelled "Baa" and led the little lamb up the stairs, which was shaking its head. You! Qin Zici raised her hand in annoyance. As the leader of the Qin family's junior generation, she was rarely treated so rudely. The two people she met today did not take her seriously. Lu Chang'an was naturally arrogant, and Zhu Huntang was always arrogant. What Qin Zici found a bit unbelievable was that Zhu Huntang seemed to have said "I won't be beaten" just now. It was probably just a fight, but it couldn't possibly mean beating. Qin Zici didn't think much about it. Hearing the sound of sheep bleating indoors from the balcony upstairs, he turned and walked out of the community. The Tauren who was killing crazily was the imminent problem. When he saw the video surveillance, Qin Zici felt that the alien beast was indeed a beast, extremely cruel and bloody, comparable to the slaughterhouses of the 1980s and 1990s. No matter what happens to other alien beasts, this beef man must be captured and brought to justice. Its brutality can also be used to prove some of his own views. He cannot have the illusion of peaceful coexistence with alien beasts. Driving away, Qin Zici looked at the city that had just woken up from the morning fog. After learning that strange beasts gathered here, her perception of the entire city changed. It seems that the vague figures of passers-by on the street are all transformed by monsters, and monsters, if they are not of my race, their hearts must be different. Qin Zici has no good impression of strange beasts. In her opinion, even if alien beasts can briefly integrate into human society and live quietly and peacefully with humans, it is just an illusion. Just like the Anglo-Saxons, when they occupy a dominant position, they will pretend to be civilized, but in fact the spiritual content is still not separated from the jungle law dominated by animal nature, and they can never live in peace with a truly civilized society. The same is true for these strange beasts. Their current hibernation will not be a state of life that they agree with from the heart. When they multiply and expand in size and power to a certain extent, they will definitely conflict with humans in all aspects. The best way, of course, is to pay a certain price now, keep some of them in captivity and study them, and destroy the rest. Unfortunately, Qin Zici didn't care about this matter, and it was inconvenient for even his great-grandfather to intervene. Driving onto the main road and following the crowded traffic to Hexi, Qin Zici called Qin Yinan at the intersection of Lushan Drive. "Sister, long time no see." Qin Zici came to Qin Yinan's house and hugged her first. The eldest sister's figure really made people instantly feel the difference between them as women. "It's been a year." Qin Yinan looked at Qin Zici and said with a smile, "You're quite thin." Don't mention it, my unit is not as good as the one you enjoy in college, and you are so pampered and well off. Chin Zisi changed his shoes and looked at the well-designed and decorated large flat. Your place is really good. I heard Zhu Huntang's residence in Juncha has been selected as one of the top 10 high-rise mansions, so it shouldn't be much better than this one. This, haha, are you kidding me? Zhu Huntang exclusively occupies the 3.5 floors of Building 1 of Bailong Center, plus the entire top floor platform. My place is like a high-end suite in the hotel downstairs. Qin Yinan waved his hand. Have you decided where you want to live? No, I just arrived today and I was wondering if I could join you. Then it's a good relationship. I have a guest room here, so let's make do with it. What are you going to make do with? Compared to where I used to live, your conditions are like heaven and earth. I can finally enjoy happiness. Where did you live? Oh, you don't need to answer me, confidentiality is the rule. Qin Yinan led Qin Zisi to the guest room to take a look. You can stay here during this period. It's fine. I'll get the luggage in the car later. Qin Zisi sat on the bed and stretched out comfortably. You take a break first, I'll make you breakfast, and we'll chat while we eat later. Qin Yinan closed the door and walked out. She looked back at the closed door and patted her chest gently. Fortunately, Qin Zisi called before coming, so she had time to put away the books on pregnancy and child care, as well as the baby products and cribs. Diapers and everything else are hidden. Otherwise, it would be difficult to explain if Qin Zisi saw it. This person works in the confidentiality department and is difficult to fool. After making 2 bowls of fragrant noodles with chopped green onion and lard, garnished with slices of thick black gold abalone, and pouring 2 glasses of table wine, Qin Yinan served his little sister a simple but delicious breakfast. Is this the first breakfast at the Shonen Princess Mansion? Qin Zisi sighed. In fact, she has never lacked a good material environment since she was a child. It's just that after working, she has no time to take into account the pursuit of life and other enjoyment conditions. After all the bad things have been washed away, returning to the city feels like returning to human civilization. It's just exquisite material enjoyment. Even if you don't pursue it deliberately, no one will really hate it. What princess house? Eat quickly, you can't eat the noodles once they're cold. Qin Yinan habitually pressed her waist and pushed the plate forward a little. Does your waist feel uncomfortable? Qin Zisi asked casually. No, it's natural to pretend to be a pregnant woman. No, it's not pretending, she is a pregnant woman in the first place. Sister, why do you want to start as a counselor? Do you really want to have some leisure time? Qin Zisi actually knew about Qin Yinan's work not long ago. The Qin family has many heirs and a prosperous population, and it is impossible for her to pay attention to every brother in time. A place for sisters to go. Yes, transitioning from a college counselor to a youth group, take this route. Qin Yinan has actually not paid attention to her career prospects for a long time. She is now focused on fighting for nutritional resources and nurturing Lu Qianqian. This is a big deal. The so-called official career is just a passing cloud. That's good, stable and comfortable. By the way, when you came to Juncha, did your great-grandfather tell you anything in particular? Qin Zisi asked tentatively. It's not a special confession, he just asked me to give a gift to an old friend. Qin Yinan didn't hide anything. It was very simple for my little sister to find out about Qin Yinan's visit last year. As for the secret behind it, it is naturally impossible for Qin Yinan to tell it. Even cousins cannot reveal it casually. Unless Qin Zisi gradually discovers the clues like Zhu Huntang, Qin Yinan will let go and talk a little. She is Yesijin, a shocking secret that cannot be revealed under any circumstances. So far, only Qin Peng and Shang Guandandan have been involved in this matter. Lu Chang'an and Su Meinu. Who is after that old friend? Qin Zisi's mind moved. Lu Chang'an is now a freshman in the biology department of Xiongnan University. He is in the same class as Zhu Huntang. I am now their counselor. Qinyan took a bite of abalone and put down her chopsticks. It turns out that Zhu Huntang and Lu Chang'an are in the same class. No wonder they are so familiar with each other. It is probably only for this reason that the third lady of the Zhu family, who has high ambitions but low eyesight, has gradually developed a relationship with Lu Chang'an, who lives in an old community and is incompatible with her world. Get intimate. There is probably some element of Lu Chang'an's extraordinary qualities in this. Zhu Huntang has no regard for ordinary people, and only likes to get in touch with people who she can use and feel can be used by her. Actually, before I came to Junxia, my great-grandfather asked me to ask Lu Chang'an for help when I encountered a problem that I couldn't solve. Qin Zici decided to reveal some of the purpose of his trip appropriately. After all, the contact with Lu Chang'an this morning seemed not very pleasant. If Lu Chang'an is to be used in the future, it may be better to mediate the contact through the eldest sister. Qinyan couldn't help but straighten her chest and looked at her uncle's child again. He was less than 1.75 meters tall. Although his legs were good-looking, the lines of his hips and legs were a little thin. His waist was slender and his upper body was not heavy enough. He was a bit low profile. A warm feeling. Low-end version of Anyuan? This is an accurate description. After discovering this, Qin Yanan's face showed a smile again. Lu Chang'an is very capable in all aspects, and he is actually our cousin. As a cousin, you might as well take the initiative to get closer to him. Lu Chang'an already has an Nuan, so he probably has little interest in the low-end version of an Nuan. Qin Yanan doesn't have to worry about suddenly finding out that her home has been stolen again one day. He is still our cousin. Qin Zici was surprised, and at the same time she felt a little suspicious. She was keenly aware that her eldest sister had become somewhat hostile to her just now, and then she seemed to be relieved quickly. It was not that she was hiding her hostility. Get up, Qin Zici is definitely like this. Qin Zici was puzzled. She and Qin Yanan were relatively close among the siblings. They had always had a good relationship. They even took completely different routes into the system. There was basically no competition for resources. Yes. He often comes to my place to eat. In a few days, I will cook and call him to have a meal with you. Let's get close to each other. Unfortunately, the guest room is now occupied by Qin Zici, and Qin Yanan also. Lu Chang'an was no longer allowed to stay overnight after dinner. But it doesn't matter. When Qin Yanan needs something, she can go there by herself. Playing with Shang Guandandan doesn't mean anything else. Before I came to Lushan, I went to the community where he lived and met him. I don't know if I said something wrong. Anyway, the first meeting was not very pleasant, Qin Zici said regretfully. It turned out that he was a little cousin who was young and very capable, so much so that even his great-grandfather paid special attention to him. He was naturally arrogant. It was probably his mentality that he accidentally revealed or the details that he didn't pay careful attention to that offended him. It doesn't matter. When I first met him, we got along just fine. He won't argue with you. When you met him, did you see anyone else? Qin Yanan asked casually. Zhu Huntang was also playing there, and there was a relatively mature and beautiful woman about 1.65 meters tall who came down from upstairs. She felt very close to Lu Chang'an. Oh, that's Zhou Shuling. Qin Yanan only regretted why she didn't buy the house above Lu Chang'an when she first came to Junxia. The threat level of this little daughter-in-law was actually much higher than that of a girl like Qin Zici. Zhu Huntang also said that she won't be beaten if she goes to Lu Chang'an now. Qin Zici doesn't care about Zhou Shuling or anything else. Zhu Huntang is the person Qin Zici pays most attention to. After all, one of the projects that Qin Zici is currently responsible for is to cooperate with Zhu Huntang's mother, Ms. Zhu San. Zhu Huntang's security team is extraordinary and is the target sample for Qin Zici's project. Won't she be beaten? There is no time when she won't be beaten. Even if Lu Chang'an doesn't want to beat her, she will give Lu Chang'an a sufficient and necessary reason to do it. Qin Yan shook his head gently. Ever since Zhu Huntang was obsessed with "Dad hasn't killed me today" after the game, Lu Chang's time to come to radiation pollution has been greatly reduced, which can be considered a good thing. Lu Chang'an really beat her, Qin Zici said in disbelief. Because of Frog Island, the Zhu family is now very popular. Zhu Huntang knows this very well, and is even more arrogant. He can only be honest in front of the eldest sister, but if Lu Chang'an being able to suppress Zhu Huntang means that Lu Chang'an is far more capable than Qin Zici imagined. Real beating. Zhu Huntang's security force couldn't stop Lu Chang'an at all, so they often pretended not to see Lu Chang'an beating their eldest daughter Qin Yan and smiled slightly and hinted at Qin Zici. She knew that this little girl actually had some ambitions. You can be arrogant, but you can be arrogant in front of anyone, not in front of Lu Chang'an. After all, this is a close girl, and she is just a low-end version of an Nuan, with no emotional threat. Qin Yan still hopes to get Lu Chang'an's help in her work. Does that mean, in fact, the Zhu family's attitude toward Lu Chang'an is the same as that of his great-grandfather? Qin Zici thought of this keenly. Everyone knows that Zhu Huntang looks confused and spoiled, but it is absolutely naive to think that she is easy to deal with. Zhu Huntang often comes to the mainland to play, and there are many second, third, and fourth generations who have had conflicts with her. She never suffered a loss. If someone like Lu Chang'an beats her up and she still tries to play with him, he must be someone she can't figure out how to deal with. That means that someone from the Zhu family will control her and prevent her from using the power of the Zhu family to have a more intense conflict with Lu Chang'an. Zhu Huntang couldn't deal with it with his own force, financial resources, or the influence from the mainland. The Zhu family didn't want to go all out to deal with Lu Chang'an for her sake. Only in this case could Zhu Huntang compromise. Eat noodles. Qin Yan did not answer directly. The little girl was indeed astute. Qin Zici said oh and already understood. Great-grandfather knew that he came to Junxia to solve extraordinary things, so the people he recommended must also be extraordinary people. He had greatly underestimated Lu Chang'an. From Shang Guandandan's circle of friends, she learned that she and An Nuan were working hard to distribute flyers. Zhou Shuling judged that An Nuan would come over for lunch, so she went to buy deboned beef and pork knuckles. Last night's hot pot was cooked by Lu Chang'an. There was no chance for Zhou Shuling to perform. Boneless beef is delicious and has a completely different flavor compared to other cuts of beef. The key is that it is much cheaper than beef. Zhou Shuling bought it for less than 20 yuan per pound. However, pork knuckle is really expensive. Drawing on the experience of making German boiled pork knuckle last time, Zhou Shuling plans to use the oven to make crispy pork knuckle today. Lu Chang'an sat on the sofa and read Methods of Mathematical Physics written by Gu Jiao, as well as Quantum Mechanics I and II by the same author. He had calmed down and was too lazy to pay attention to Zhu Huntang's original nonsense. The key point was that Lu Chang'an was a little suspicious. If Zhu Huntang didn't have a super invincible and powerful father like himself, he might not have had that inexplicable confidence. Many times, what Zhu Huntang said made sense, but her expressions were too irritating and she lacked language skills. This is caused by not studying well and lacking reading comprehension skills, which leads to poor language skills. Not necessarily, sometimes she does it on purpose, provoking Lu Chang'an and putting herself to death, which is extraordinary fun for her. Look at me, I push my hair back and expose my whole forehead. Doesn't it look like a beauty from the Tang dynasty? Zhu Huntang lay on his back on Lu Chang'an's lap with his upper body on his back and his legs on the back of the sofa, stroking himself a smooth and soft forehead. She originally wanted to interfere with Lu Chang'an's reading, but she was soon attracted by her beauty. She felt that even without bangs, she could confidently think that she was a peerless beauty. Lu Chang'an glanced at her, sneered, and turned to continue reading. Why are you sneering? Zhu Huntang's eyes were as bright as fire and he tried to attack him with his scorching eyes. Actually, there weren't many beauties in the Tang dynasty. If I put it in the Tang dynasty, wouldn't they be considered stunning? But it is said that in the Tang dynasty, fatness was considered as the most beautiful thing. Beautiful, concubine Tang must be a fat person. This is concubine Yang. I'm confused. I'm not illiterate. How can I not know about concubine Yang? Last time I ate lychees at Qinyanan's house, I even memorized concubine Yang's poem Zhu Huntang became angry just thinking about it. This bad old man actually tie her to a kite and shoot her into the sky, then force her to recite poetry. Can I still recite it? Lu Chang'an flipped through the book and said casually. His posture was to numb her. If she couldn't recite it, he would immediately turn against her and beat her up. Lu Chang'an turned around, seeing the piles of embroidered handkerchiefs left by the beauty. Thinking about my romantic nature, I cannot let down all the beauties after all. Thousands of boudoir doors opened in front of him, and he galloped forward. Facing the smiling faces of the beauties, he unexpectedly took out a lot of lychees and chanted, "Eat 300 lychees a day, I am the man you will never get." He had composed another good poem. Zhu Huntang couldn't help but feel proud, ha ha ha. Before she could finish laughing, Lu Chang'an covered her mouth. She happened to be lying on his lap, making it very convenient for him to strike. He slapped her on the thigh, causing Zhu Huntang to bounce up in pain. Lu Chang'an then pressed her down and slapped her again. A few times. Zhu Huntang bounced a few times but was pressed down. Her struggle failed and she could only gasp angrily. This bad old man is really violent. One day, she will ride on his neck and crush his head with her scissor feet at all times. Zhu Huntang lay motionless on his lap and vowed to take revenge. By the way, I would like to educate you on a common misunderstanding. Concubine Yang Guifei is not a fat person. She is actually a beauty like Qinyanan. The emphasis on fatness as beauty in the Tang dynasty does not mean that the current little fairies return to the Tang dynasty. She is a great beauty. Fatness in the Tang dynasty is equivalent to the title of Mo Yan's book. If a large amount of fat accumulated on the waist and abdomen to form a belly, no one in the Tang dynasty would like it. Lu Chang'an finished explaining in a leisurely manner and continued to flip through his book. "Chang'an, don't bully Xiao Tang," Zhou Shuling said in the kitchen. "You can enjoy your pig knuckle in peace. Sister Zhou is such a good person, but it's a pity that she doesn't have such powerful superpowers as Dan Dan." Zhu Huntang folded his hands on his chest. If Dan Dan were here, he would have been hiding behind Dan Dan, watching Lu Chang'an being tied up by Dan Dan's hair. Live and throw around. "Now you know the benefits of superpowers," Lu Chang'an said meaningfully. "If you mastered superpowers yourself, could use them flexibly, and fully controlled your explosive ability, would you be beaten every day?" "Then I have such a superpower, can I sit on your neck and dominate you?" Zhu Huntang asked. "Haha, you can practice for another few billion years. Isn't that enough? Now except for you, I am basically invincible. After I have worked hard to master the superpower, in the end, I am still invincible except for you. What's the difference? What's the point, Zhejun?" Tang sneered, "Do you think I'm stupid?" Lu Chang'an took a deep breath, pushed Zhu Huntang away with one palm, then picked up the book and blocked it in front of his eyes, out of sight and out of mind. Zhu Huntang crawled back again and continued to lie on his lap. For some reason, he was like a clingy man, pestering Lu Chang'an just for fun. However, the book in Lu Chang'an's hand was like some kind of magic weapon. Just the words mathematics and physics on the cover gave Zhu Huntang a negative halo. He wanted to fight fire with fire, so Zhu Huntang picked up another book in the set of books, Quantum Mechanics. "I'm mad at your mother." Zhu Huntang flipped through a few pages at random. His eyes stung and his head felt dizzy, so he quickly threw the book away. When Planck chose physics as his university major at the age of 16, Professor Philippe von Jolly advised him not to choose this major because the mainstream belief at the time was that everything in physics had already been studied, and only some were unimportant in this field. There are gaps that need to be filled. The professor believed that a genius like Planck should not be wasted in such a promising field. What the 16-year-old Planck thought was, "Are you teaching me how to do things?" Then he came up with quantum mechanics and let others spend his whole life. "I can't even understand it through research." Lu Chang'an pressed his palm on Zhu Huntang's forehead. "Do you know how far human beings must develop before they can understand quantum mechanics? It is something parents must do to inspire their children with quotes from famous people and stories of geniuses. I can't even understand junior high school mathematics and physics, you ask me. Why are you so confident when you are not ashamed?" The question goes back to why I am so confident. "Shut up." Lu Chang'an put down the book in his hand. "Have you followed the latest progress of your virtual world project?" Yu Tu said that he found a problem that can be optimized and is further debugging it. He will be able to play it soon. Zhu Huntang is still quite concerned about this project. After all, this is the only one where she can ride on Lu Chang'an's neck and show dominance. Blessed opportunity. In fact, when humans make the virtual world run infinitely close to reality, they will thoroughly study and understand the problems of quantum mechanics, or perhaps by then they will have discovered that there is no such thing as quantum mechanics. Lu Chang'an continued to educate and guide Zhu Huntang. "Why?" Zhu Huntang sighed in his heart and asked cooperatively. "Among the people around the old man, he has the highest IQ. He has many topics, so he can only talk to her. Others are probably not interested at all. Pay attention to him. Because how we create the virtual world is how our world is created. The closer we create the virtual world to the real world, the more we are restoring the process of creating our so-called real world." Lu Chang'an pointed. Zhu Huntang also pointed at himself. "Other than that, there is no way to explain why creatures like you and me, who are more like a virtual world, exist in the real world." Zhu Huntang suddenly felt a tingling sensation on his scalp, and then a creepy feeling, as if his previous life was completely a dream and he had just been woken up. "Whether what I said is right or not is currently unconfirmed, but you have a long life to study and discover the truth of the world. You just need to study hard." Lu Chang'an followed the guidance and patted the back of her hand gently. "Okay, I don't want to try my best to skip class." Sensing Lu Chang'an's sincere words, Zhu Huntang also felt a little embarrassed. Why didn't the old man go around in such a big circle for her own good? Lu Chang'an nodded and continued reading. Today's task of driving sheep to class was relatively simple. He did not expect Zhu Huntang to have the consciousness not to skip class from now on. "I heard that there will be a lottery on May 15th, with 5,000 words being drawn once, up to 5 times. At the same time, every time the author updates 5,000 words, readers can draw a prize. The prizes include cash and digital products. Zaiwa decided to allow readers to draw at least twice. Maybe you can smoke it 5 times. Oh. Please give me monthly votes for a 10,000 word chapter."